Hello there, hello there, hello there, everybody, and welcome to Macy's Gay Parade. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to Americans who have made up a thing to do more consumerism with, naturally. Yes, but enjoy your turkey and barely concealed hatred for your family or whatever it is you get up to. I don't fucking know. Yes. Hello there, everybody. I'm in the UK, where we don't give thanks for shit, and rightly so. And we're also not giving thanks because the Dutch just elected a fascist, kind of. We'll wait and see. I wasn't really going to focus on it, and I'm not going to, for anyone who's interested. Just on the basis that because they've got a silly system whereby it's kind of proportional and stuff or something. I don't know. He doesn't Geert Wilders, fascist fucking Beavis. Doesn't become automatically prime minister. They have to form a coalition and stuff, and so hopefully the liberals of the Netherlands don't keep up the fantastically ignominious tradition of liberals siding with fascists in order to protect capitalism. Yay. We'll wait and see. But Kevin has a Dutch beard, and he's not talking about the Netherlands elections. Well, basically, yes. That is essentially the situation that we find ourselves in. Correct. We'll wait and see. I know all of that. Bad times, though. Bad times. Again, not giving thanks. If there's one thing this channel will never do is give thanks. Except if you subscribe and stuff. Oh, that would have been a great lead into the thing. I hadn't planned on that. I hadn't planned on doing any kind of like cool segue into the shilling. But now that we're here, I will give thanks if you hit the follow button and or subscribe. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can give subs to the community. You can do bits messages. 200 bits or more will get you a text-to-speech. You can do super chats via the super chat link below if you're here on Twitch. $2 or more there will get you a text-to-speech. Well, actually, you can super chat me if you're on YouTube. It's just I don't have a link on the YouTube. So you'd have to come over to the Twitch to get the YouTube. Which, by the way, another great reason to anyone watching on YouTube that you should come over to twitch.tv/, what the fuck is it again? KFLogan1875. You should do that. You should. Yeah. Check the stream on your social platforms. No. Fuck you. Is it going on YouTube? Hang on a minute. This is going to annoy me now, isn't it? If this isn't going on YouTube, I'm going to be fucking furious. Oh, no, it is. Okay. Well, hello, YouTube people. Hello. Anyway. Right. We've got drama to cover, people. Oh, yes. We've got dramas. We've also got potentially, and I'm not sure what time this is happening, Cenk and his little sidekick guy. What's his name? The little headed fella. Hinge, Hasan, something like that. I don't know the name of humans, but anyway, they're talking on their channel at some point. So, or on his channel. So we'll take a look at that. As and when that might kick off, who knows? Anyway. I sure am coming on YouTube. Is that what I said? I'm not sure. Yes, indeed. President-elect Cenk. The, was it 47th president? 46th. Fuck you, Grover Cleveland. A different person to become president of the United States. Cenk. Fact. Fact. Although Cenk, given that Donald Trump is basically orange, does that mean that he would be more of a person of colour than Cenk? Because Cenk is a lighter skin tone, right? So I don't know. I don't know how it works. Oh, that is... Oh, that is a thing that occurred. Hang on a minute. That didn't need to happen, did it? None of that needed to occur. Thank you, Thinking Sabercat. You delightful lunatic. That is... That is a test for anyone's sexuality, I think. I don't know who would be more turned off by that. Try transvestigating that, motherfuckers. Anyway. Hello there, Lord Fritus. How are you? Hello there, Wayward Historian. Hello there, all of the regs. And the irregs. And the I don't know, lurkers? Hello, lurkers. How are you? I don't expect a response, but you know, if you ever wanted to, you can. You're entirely welcome. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh yeah, boom. Thought slime. Let's not fuck around, people. This is 45 minutes long. This could take forever, because that's how the Kev rolls. Thought Slime did a response video or something to our old friend, and I say friend very incorrectly, ShoeOnHead. So naturally, the Kev was going to have to take a look. There's no way. This is like a catnip for the Kev. I can't not. Okay? And anyone expecting me not to was a fool unto themselves.
This is the hardest video I've ever had to make. I never thought I'd have to make a video like this, but it has come to my attention that I have failed men.
Me too. Awesome. Let's all fail men together. Pretty good. I could almost go for that look on you. I don't normally do breads. Breads? What's bread? Well, I know what bread is. It's a type of doughy food stuff. But like, what's breads in the form of sexuality? What's... I'm scared. What thoughts... What the fuck was that noise? Why did it make a noise at me? Don't fucking do that. Oh, because I'm on... No, it's fucking Discord, you cunt. Fuck's sake. Turn off notification sounds, you absolute schmellend. Go on, I knew why. Confusing, that's what it was. What's this? I posted in Discord suggestions a video from Australian Sky News. Well, that's a bad sign already. Which is the most ridiculously transphobic thing that was literally Australia watching Australian trans women and moaning about it. Well, that sounds truly horrific, thank you. I appreciate that enormously, Thinking Sabercat. Yeah. Oh, beards! Not breads. Okay. I'm going to put that down to autocorrect. And leave you alone, Miss Hire. Okay? I thought it was some sort of like breedable type deal. And to be fair, I am very breedable. I'm moisturised and I'm in my lane, okay? Sky News is batshit, yeah. It's not much better here. It's just we have rules that mean you have to be... They have to vaguely stay sane. Vaguely.
For those not familiar, men are like... how do I describe them? They're like normal people, but usually they're bigger, and usually they're hairier, and they don't typically smell as good. It's hard to describe them because they're quite variable. Some of them are Chinese, some of them are dentists. They're all different. You know one.
Chinese, dentist, Sigma, other. Those are the 4 types of men that exist. This is true. This is true.
When you see one. But it's not important what men are. What's important is that it's been brought to my attention that some of my words have been deeply offensive to men and people within the larger male fandom. And that was never my intention. I would never want to mock people who I think could defeat me in a fight.
Okay, Maria, I misspoke. Australians are complaining about American trans people. Jesus fucking Christ. Don't be anal about it. Giggity.
Besides, some of my best friends are men. I have men in my family. I'm even half man on my father's side. I have a deep and abiding respect for men and male culture. I've participated in many of their rituals, gone to their places of worship, ate their traditional foods. I will now give the traditional male apology for any offense my thoughtless words may have caused. I'm sorry, bro. I love you, bro. We good, bro? Now to back up and explain myself a little.
It's true. That is the way to apologise. Fact. Anyway, oh, did you see, what's her face? What was her fucking name? Colleen Bollinger, the woman who did the ukulele apology. She put out a new video apologising for the apology video, which is fucking genius when you think about it. She did an apology for an apology, but she didn't even break out the ukulele to apologise, which means, does she really is she feeling sorry? I don't know. Doesn't feel contrite without a ukulele.
Little bit in a video about the deeply embarrassing Nick Adams and the deeply embarrassing way he tries to portray himself as an alpha male by, like, stepping on candies and going to boob restaurants.
Until M&M's rectify this grave wrong by giving us all male M&M's, this boycott...
I can't take it seriously with that accent. I can't, like right-wing outrage is mental and pointless, and I couldn't give a fuck, usually. But when you put this Australian/Kiwi, I don't fucking know who they are, thing, I can't take that seriously. M&M's. We need all male M&M's. That's silly. That's very silly. You know I'm right. Anyone moulding in chat, you know I'm correct.
Will remain. M&M's?
Put down the woke M&Ms.
I said
No, M&M's.
following. The question of whether or not the hashtag online left is enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And, like, that's a very misguided question, in my opinion. Broadly speaking, the goal of the left should be to spread power to the most people possible. And so it should always be kind of harder to get people who already have unfair amounts of power on board. That's inconvenient, but it's also kind of unavoidable without diluting the goals we seek to achieve. It is never in the self-interest of the powerful to aid the powerless. That's the reason there are powerful and powerless people in the first place. And men, by and large, are more powerful than women. There are, of course, exceptions. There are intersections of other forms of oppression that can make individual people's stories different than the general trend. But, like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting, often to not men. In virtually any circumstance where a man has a shitty time in life, if that man were a woman, they would be having a worse time, because they'd have all of their regular problems plus some new woman problems. I can see now the mistake I made, which is that I took it for granted that my words would be understood in the context I said them in, rather than used outside of that context to give the illusion I had said something different than what I said. And for that, I apologize. Never in a million years would I have thought that simply saying...
You wrote a... Hang on, what the fuck? You wrote a billion tweet long thread about this video. Well, link it. Link your thread. And I will happily take a look at that shit. Naomi in YouTube chat.
Saying the most banal, obvious, and self-evident facts about the reproduction of patriarchy could be taken as evidence of a supposed demonization of men and manhood. Particularly because the whole fucking video, like the whole fucking thing, was about how insincere this type of performative masculinity is, how it does not represent men realistically.
Yeah, Nick Adams and his fake, like, Hooters is the very pinnacle of manhood thing is really ridiculous. Really very silly indeed. Yeah.
And holds them to standards that are both impossible and, this is important, deeply stupid. But then some very concerned people reached out with some gentle criticism, some suggestions like that I should kill myself. More people than the normal amount that tell me to kill myself. And a lot of people complaining.
It is a nice chat widget, isn't it? I did one thing technologically correct ever. Yeah.
That I hate men and also for some reason white people, which I don't feel is related, but okay, I'll work on that too, I guess. And I didn't want to admit it at the time. I thought, you know, what's probably happened here is that some chud must have talked about me in a video. Like some chud didn't like a thing I said and they showed it to their chud audience to get them.
Oh yeah, did we know that, did we find out in YouTube chat, people? For those who don't know, I've got the two chats on the screen there, right? And was it yesterday's stream, I think? We had people come over from one of the various episodes of The Descent of Manosphere, which is a series I did on YouTube a long time ago. And I forget which one it was. It was a British guy, anyway, who seems to have gotten rather butthurt, because we got about, look, I don't know, a few people, whoever the fuck they were, who were, I don't know, technically was it harassment? I don't even know. But basically they were in there like talking about that and how I was a fucking stooge for taking the vaccine and blah blah blah. You know, the usual conspiracy bollocks. Did he make a video on me? What happened there? Does anyone know? I have no idea, but there you go. Yeah, they were anti-vax freaks, I know that much, but like, did he respond to me or something? I'm not going to look it up. I don't give a fuck that much, but you know. If anyone is giving subs, by the way. 255 is fishing in chat, everyone. We've got a fisher. A fisher of men. That's a biblical reference and also makes it sound delightfully gay.
They're mad at me about it. But what happened next shook me to my core. Because it turns out it wasn't a chud that talked about me in a video.
Thank you, Bilderberg, for accepting the fishing request from 255. Much love to you.
Oh, it was ShoeOnHead. What? Well, she didn't really talk about me so much as she showed like a clip of me in passing in a video. And that was why suddenly my feed sucked more for a little while until they got bored. And it confused me. It confused my delicate little brain. Huh? I would understand if some chud made a video about me, but ShoeOnHead is, of course, no right-wing culture warrior. Now, I'll grant you, she once was. She was once an anti-feminist crusader in the meme wars. She rubbed shoulders and hobnobbed with all sorts of anti-SJW alt-right adjacent figureheads and white supremacist terrorists back then, but in time.
She did do that. She did. And she hasn't really changed all that much, so I'm just saying. Naomi, you didn't link your tweet thread, and I'm disappointed. And I'm personally hurt and offended.
The scales fell from her eyes like Paul on the road to Damascus. And now she's a bona fide, real, honest-to-God, no-fooling leftist. She said so. Of course, those old videos are still there. You know, she's not running from her past. And of course, they're still monetized. Like, she's still benefiting from her past. But when people come to our side, it's cause for celebration. They should be welcomed and given leadership positions. That's called solidarity. People can...
Alex Roivas, you make a very good point. You used to call her fascist boxy. I did the purposeful thing in her Descent of Manosphere episode. The outro bit where I showed just like pictures of the person over like a musical montage thing or whatever. I purposefully mixed in pictures of Boxy into the thing because she looks a lot like her, right? And her fans got super ass mad about that. They got really upset about that. At first they thought I was stupid, and I went, no, I did that on purpose because I thought it'd be funny and annoying for you. And they got really ass blasted. And that is, honestly, that made it all worth it for me. That alone, delightful.
Can change. People can change without meaningfully changing their behavior. And at the time, I was too busy to respond because, of course, I was working on a video about fake leftists disingenuously calling for left unity in order to use our spaces to spread their right-leaning, often bigoted ideas. So, of course, you see, I had no time to think about ShoeOnHead. No, I'm doing it again. I'm being snide. I mustn't be snide. Being snide is what got me into this mess. Look, I can't see inside.
Okay, Naomi, at me on Twitter under the thread, and I'll get it that way.
ShoeOnHead's heart. If I were forced to guess, I'd imagine her conversion, so to speak, is genuine. I don't think she's lying about that, and I don't really give a shit if she is, and I don't think it would matter if she was. For the record, I find it far more likely that she did genuinely change her mind about some things, but also held on to a lot of her previous biases without realizing it. I think she's coming from a background of like latent right-wing echo chambery spaces, and she still has a lot of those ideas bouncing around in her brain. It's not that she like sat down and like deliberately, maliciously said, good, I will infiltrate the leftists by pretending to be one of them. That's a cartoon thing to do. She didn't do that.
No, she didn't do that. No, I think that's true. I don't think ShoeOnHead did that. What I think she did was she realised that the economics of the right wing were dog shit, so she was drawn to left-wing economics and kept virtually all of her social attitudes, which were kind of the problem to begin with in many respects, and leftists just went, yay, a famous person agrees with some of her economic takes. She likes Bernard Sanders, and that was enough for some people. Literally, that was enough. Mad. Jason Aspie says, would you have a chat with Dusty Smith? You had a video about him years ago in his Edgelord Atheist days. Jason, not only would I have a conversation with Dusty Smith, I've had conversations with Dusty Smith. He's appeared on my channel a couple of times since, and he's a good lad. He was an absolute bellend, but he is now a decent chappy chap. So, yeah. We're good. We're good.
That sometimes leftists are shitheads. I don't know what to tell you. She would say I'm a shithead. I would think that wouldn't cause her to think I am like a fake leftist anymore.
Do you think he's been too generous with her? I don't know really. I mean, I have to wait and see the full video before I give a proper pronouncement on that. But I think actually, I don't know their pronouns. Apologies. I'll just say they. I think they are being quite kid gloves at the moment. I think they're being quite softly. But that might be just a way of like not wanting to poison the well, of trying to get an audience to listen to the point and then at the end say, oh no, she's a piece of shit, or something like that. I don't know. Hey, hello, Rolling Left. Can we get a permaban for Rolling Left in chat, please? We do know that into that kind of degenerate filth, polluting otherwise superior genetic stock. Okay? They're from Wisconsin. Ugh. Yeah. How you getting on, Krista? You alright, yeah?
More so than like a lot of people do. Now, she doesn't really so much talk about me in her video. She includes like 2 seconds.
Oh, Thought Slime is any all. Okay, so, yeah.
Seconds of me talking. Although, within those 2 seconds, she does do some, let's call it creative editing.
Why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like,
I don't know why this is annoying me now, right? But Naomi in chat. Link. I actually want to see the fucking thread now. It's annoying me. At me on Twitter with the fucking thread. I want to see your 1,000,000 tweet long thread. God damn it. Oh, very strange. I'm a strange person. My hot take is that they're both wrong. Shoe says dumb things and Thought Slime says cruel things, as I think there's a real problem with masculinity. As a lady I sometimes work with had her son commit suicide over the summer. Oh, that's a shame. That's fucked up. And really looked at the one cause of death for men between 18 and 45 being suicide, I think needs addressing. That's true. That is definitely an issue that needs addressing. I would suggest that there are lots of things to do with male socialization. Not to use the T word here, but toxic masculinity. That I think leads to men being able to, or not being able to, understand their own emotional complexities and stuff like that. And it just ultimately leads to them becoming kind of fucked up in a way that hurts other people and ultimately ends up hurting themselves. And it's when that changes that things change. It's not, oh, the left are being mean to them, so they're killing themselves. No, that's not how that works. And I'm not suggesting, by the way, that you were saying that, but I have heard that argument from, like, twats. From chuddy dickheads. Yeah. Who are the kind of people who are like, the left needs to change and become exactly the thing that the right want them to be. And that's definitely a way that they can win. Honest. Like, shut up, man. Literally shut the fuck up. It was the whole Milo Yiannopoulos grift. He used to say, I'm telling the left how they can win. And his way of the left winning was just doing everything the right wing wanted. Like, you might as well go, oh, got your nose. I've got your nose. Like, am I a 5-year-old?
Men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America isn't Jeff Bezos.
That's true. Closest Kev lookalike. Fatter Russell Brand. No need. No need for that. Zeus. Maximilian the First of Mexico. This is definitely 255. You're a mentalist. Who the fuck is Maximilian the First of Mexico? Maximilian the First. Well, that's Roman Emperor, so that's probably not of Mexico. There we go. Emperor of the Second Mexican Empire. Does he look like me? I suppose he looks a bit like me. Kind of. You can kind of see that a bit. He's put more effort into his hair. Yeah. Also, look at the drip. That is absolutely impeccable. Gotta give him that much.
Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
Sorry, Shue, I should have been clearer about this. I was talking about who has power over who in the scenario. You probably didn't realize that because it was in the part of the video that you skipped, but generally, when you're...
Yeah. She is quite dishonest. I've noticed that about her over years. I stand by my vote. Who did you vote for? What was the voterino going on there? Was it Maximilian the First? I don't know.
You're willing to kill someone, that grants you a certain power over them. Kind of thought that didn't need clarifying, but there you go. That's why I threw that statistic in there. They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have.
Okay, thank you enormously, Naomi Chance, for coming over to Twitch to link the thing. I appreciate that. Now, can you hit the follow button on Twitch, now that you're here? Oh, wow, you really have got a lot. Whoa, that is a lot of tweets. You have got a lot of tweets going on there. Fuck it, we're reading the bastards. It's become a thing now. It's become like, I don't know, it's a battle to the death between me and my own sanity. One of us will die, okay?
We got him. Victory is ours.
But now that I've got Naomi to come over here, I am reading this entire fucking tweet thread. It's happening. It could be complete bollocks, I've no idea. It could be total rubbish, but it's happening. And thank you, Naomi, for following. Welcome to the Kevolution on this side. Boom. What is it? What's this? What's this? That is a stiff dick. That's awful. Why are you doing this to me? You're a fucking monster. Thinking Sabercat. Look at my fucking face. It looks like the troll face fucking meme. Look at that cheekbone. It's ridiculous. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you, Wayward Historian, for gifting a sub to Naomi Chance. Much love. Right. We are reading an entire thread by a person on the Twitters. It's happening. Alright, time to watch the Mew. I presume that's new, but I'm going to say Mew because I'm going to assume it's a cute cat thing. I don't know. Thought slime video, I guess. This is going to fucking suck. Dude. I will say, punctuation is your friend. Just saying. Alright, so it starts off with a fake apology to men bit. That's just, It's not funny or insufferable enough to be remembered. It's forgettable. Then he shows the clip which he got dogpiled / mildly criticised for, in which he states that the online left should not focus on appealing to men as a demographic because men have more power. This take, which Thought Slime gave, lacks nuance. Representation alone should not disqualify any group from anything, and is a stupid metric by which to choose who to appeal to. To be fair, what I will say, I'm going to interject here. We're going to do a critique. I'm now arguing against someone that I don't know. Brilliant. I don't think Thought Slime was saying that disqualifies men. I think they were saying that it's more difficult to appeal to men, and that's kind of defeatist bullshit and isn't like a good idea. But I don't think they were saying it disqualifies them from being appealed to by the left. I think that's an overstatement on your part. This also does not take into account the various subcategories of men, which we already saw earlier. They were Chinese, I forget what was the other one. Chinese, dentist, Sigma, and other. Those are the 4. Okay. i.e. trans men, femboys, men of different ethnicities, races, and nationalities, whose struggle may overlap but ultimately are different. But this is just the clip, of course, which does our good friend Mildred have to say. What does our good friend Mildred have to say about this clip? Why, it's been clipped out of context, of course. What Mildred said should have been understood in the context of one specific, barely relevant anymore manosphere type who stomped on M&Ms once that they were talking about in that video. You put some respect on the M&Ms, okay? The M&Ms are a very important part of the culture war or something. Much like the Snickers dick vein. Never mind the fact that the entire spiel they gave can be understood perfectly and was coherent regardless of the person it was in reference to. We need to understand that the person who filmed themselves stomping on a bag of M&Ms was important in understanding what Mildred said. And of course, being that this Thought Slime video, they have to word their entire rant about how people missing the point of that clip, and that showing the video gave important context in the most condescending, talking down to a first grader way possible. To be fair, that is Thought Slime's, like, presentational style, is the condescending, slightly school marmish, like, I don't know, kind of jokey professorial thing, which doesn't always play well. Then he goes on to talk about ShoeOnHead. Let's see what brilliant insights our good friend Mildred has on our dear Shoe. I feel like I should clarify this before I get any further into the video. I don't like ShoeOnHead all that much. I think that she's an annoying ditz who's irresponsible and prone to saying stupid shit. That's all. I don't think she's a grifter. I just think she's not very smart. No comment. I've never had anything bad to say about ShoeOnHead ever, and I don't intend to start now. I am a perfect gentleman. Shut up. The Balenciaga shit last year was the tipping point for me, and I think many other people on the online left. She handled it terribly, and left many people who weren't die-hard Shoe stans disillusioned with her. Not even Vosh, who defended Shoe in the past, had a defence for it. Yeah, the Balenciaga pedo thing was fucking mental. She was mental. And she is. She's very... I mean, dare I say, we should call her QAnhead for her propensity to do weird fucking conspiracy bullshit. They began by heavily suggesting that Shoe is a grifter before pussying out of it and saying, well, we can't know for sure because I don't know what's going on in Shoe's mind. Already off to a great start, I say. Next we get to the part where Thought Slime dissects Shoe's video with surgical precision. Right off the bat, Mildred does the context thing that did in the section prior and mentions that Shoe cut off a whole 30 seconds of my rant, which would have been a big deal if the central idea of said rant did not remain intact because of Shoe's editing. In Mildred's defence, Shoe responds to it in typical Shoe fashion with a rushed out counter argument that barely addresses the point. Let's see how Mildred responds. They respond by saying, Well, Shue, you see, what you missed was the men have power, and also that generally when killing happens, it's done by people in power. I don't think I need to clarify, but okay. I'm honestly not shocked that ThoughtSlime chose to respond by restating points in that clip as opposed to, you know, an actual response. ThoughtSlime isn't really that bright. Oh. Okay, that's pretty funny. So, basically, if I can surmise, your point, Naomi, is that these are two stupid people talking shit. Fair enough, I guess. As you do. Anyway, that's as far as we've got in this video, so I would suggest we watch on more and then maybe come back to it. Or I'll probably forget and we won't go back to it. I don't know. She allowing her stands to deny her obvious racism without calling them out is wrong. She's happy to let racists feel accepted in her audience. That's true. ShoeOnHead is very... I mean, ShoeOnHead's a right-winger. Let's not fucking pretend otherwise. She had a weird dalliance with leftist economics, but she's always been a weird kind of borderline fascioid the entire time. That's just what she is, deep down.
That's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff.
No, I don't think leftism is about having less stuff. I do think it is about
No, leftism is when no house. We've been through this.
flattening unjust power dynamics and kind of dismantling oppressive power structures. And so if one group is systematically denied stuff, then yeah, taking stuff from the people denying it and giving it to them is indeed leftist. Kind of thought that went without saying, kind of thought that was self-evident. If one were to simply watch her video, which approximately 3 million people did, they'd get the impression that I was saying that the left should not do outreach to men because men are murderers and evil, when in fact, what I actually said was the left, by virtue of the positions we hold, will always have a harder time converting those who benefit from the structures we seek to
To be fair, all men are murderers. Change my mind.
dismantle, a position she herself states in the same video.
But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle for...
Oh, scoot the video over. Apologies. Sorry, I forget when I go over to Twitter you have to move it over. Yeah, it's... Why can't the internet be absolutely perfectly as I need it to be at all times? It's disgusting.
the start.
And thus, the question of whether or not the left does enough to appeal to men is misguided. It's harder for the left to do that, kind of intrinsically. My point about men doing most of the murdering and assaulting, which is just a statistical reality, was not brought up, as Shue presents it here, as evidence that the left need not appeal to men. I brought it up many sentences later to demonstrate the relative power dynamics between men and not men. But she kind of just splices those two things together, and it gives the impression I'm simply dismissing men's concerns out of pocket. She hilariously had to skip past a part where I specifically say that there are, of course, exceptions to the general rule that men are more privileged than, say, women. Because if she didn't, it would become clear that her entire framing of this issue is kind of horseshit. Because of course men have mental health problems, and of course those mental health problems are important and worth taking seriously. The only people
Oh yeah, ShoeOnHead doing a weird culture war shit as always, yeah.
she seems to be able to point to say otherwise is
that's
like
what she does.
weird Twitter randos. Given that she likes to, let's say, embellish the contents of some people's tweets, I don't find that argument necessarily persuasive. Saying that someone has privilege, or even indeed that they actively enforce a structure which privileges them, doesn't mean that, like, we ought to never ever listen to them or help them with anything ever. If I were on fire, I would expect a less privileged person who is holding a fire extinguisher to help me. She also seems to be missing the broader critique people are making. I think that she's absolutely right, for example, to point out that it's kind of rude and shitty to respond to a man having a mental health crisis by simply saying that mental health crisis is the result of patriarchy. I don't think it's fair to lay patriarchy.
Well, that's true in an individual... The fuck? A bit of my ceiling just collapsed. I say a bit, it was a little flake of paint. Anyway, what was... Oh, fuck's sake. Yeah, on an individual level, yes. If a man is having a mental health crisis, like if a man's having a fucking psychological breakdown, pointing out that they're, it's patriarchy or whatever, as a kind of societal force, that's maybe led them to that place, is not helpful and is a really dumb and counterproductive way of approaching that. But when we're talking about men, i.e. the large group of people that make up roughly half of society, you can point that out. That's worth pointing out, actually. And the conflation of those two things is the kind of shell game that the rightists like to play, because they're arseholes. That doesn't even look like me. That's not even me. Why are you posted? That's... what? Unless you're saying I'm a fat prick like John Candy, in which case, fair play, I guess. I don't know. But he doesn't even have a beard. I do hope Trains, Planes and Automobiles is on this Christmas. Fucking banger.
Hierarchy at the feet of an individual man, and I don't think it's helpful to dismiss someone's mental health concerns on the basis of their own relative privilege, or even like their shitty attitude about it or whatever. Even if someone is like a sexist jerk, like their mental health problems are important. Mental health does not discriminate in this way. Even mean, shitty people deserve to have their mental health treated and taken seriously. That being said, it does kind of seem to me like Shue is suggesting that discussions of patriarchy and privilege are the thing which makes men depressed and lonely, or, at the very least, the thing which prevents feminists and leftists from addressing the issue, that men feel undervalued and attacked specifically because of efforts to dismantle these privileges. Towards the end of her video, for example, she says that men are natural providers and that their inability to provide makes them feel valueless.
Again, just gross conservatism. She's like, did she grow up in a religious household or anything? Because this seems like some fucking like weirdo Christian bullshit to me.
A lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men...
Don't forget, if you want to be my pay pig, you can... You know what, I'm not. I'm not going to finish the joke, even though it would be a good time to do the shilling. I'm not going to, okay? I'm above this. Only slightly, but I am.
Simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. Whether a job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for.
And like, it does strike me as disingenuous to at once say that men feel undervalued because they're unable to be providers, which is obviously true and a serious problem, and then go on to say that men are natural providers, a phrase which insists that men are correct, that their value is based on how well they provide for others. It suggests that if a man's partner or family does not require him to provide for them, they are somehow robbing him of his natural position.
Or that he's just worthless. Right? Think about how actually misandrous that is. If there's no one relying on you, you're worthless as a man.
Oink, oink, and kitty bonk. Pay pig.
I was going to make a very serious point about men's place in society and their feelings of self-worth.
Have some bits, daddy.
You people are just both generous and deeply annoying. I hope you enjoy that, okay? Thank you. We're on level... we're on a hype train now. I'm not going to bother trying to go back to the point. The moment's gone. Okay? The moment has gone. Now spit on. Okay, this is not becoming a sex stream. Okay? No. We're not doing that. This is not... No. Just no. Anyway, if we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will finger masculinity. I will finger the entirety of toxic masculinity, okay?
This is, in my view, rather ironically, precisely the type of gender essentialism that creates the loneliness and depression she is ostensibly so concerned with.
Editor's note. I have a very specific disease which causes me to
Come
pronounce
on,
the word ostensibly
carefully
as
set up the
ostensibly.
silliness. Oh, and more kitty bonk.
Thank you, Wayward Historian, for 300 bitty bits. Don't forget, everybody, if you want to contribute to the hype train and to me fingering random dead people, usually, you can do bits messages or subscriptions to the channel in the various ways that one can do that. And if you're on YouTube, come over to the Twitch. I get paid here, even if you just watch the advert and then go back to YouTube.
Cheer for a hot tub stream.
No. You've wasted your money there. Completely wasted your fucking money. It's never happening. Okay?
The idea of men just being naturally
Fucking people.
the providers is the justifying logic of patriarchy. Of course, it's not that non-men have been forbidden from or kept out of positions where they could provide for themselves. It's simply that men are, by nature of being men, naturally seeking out those positions and do them better because of their natural provider vibes. You see this logic applied each and every time some dickhead claims the wage gap doesn't exist and that women simply choose jobs which pay less. No thought is given as to why women choose those positions or why those positions are paid less. That's just what...
Yep, socialisation and economic theory don't come into it because culture war! Whoop whoop! Thank you, Naomi Chance, with 100 bits. Hot tub stream, you say? No.
That is a stiff dick of poop.
No, I do not say hot tub stream. Somebody else said hot tub stream. Okay? The Kev is not getting in a hot tub. The Kev showers because Kev does not... I don't know why I'm referring to myself in a nickname in the third person, but we're going with it. The Kev does not want the Kev's anus in the same water as the Kev's face. The Kev does not enjoy that.
what women do naturally because of their girl brains, which naturally don't want as much money as men. It's kind of silly, right? Because it's like, of course, there's no biological drive within men that makes them need to provide. It's the result of patriarchal conditioning, the justifying logic of patriarchy, of maintaining male privilege, backfiring and making men sad because the thing it is justifying actually sucks. It sucks for everybody. So the solution to that problem is to undo that conditioning, to help them understand that others are their equal and thus equally capable of providing for themselves. It does not make them weak or useless if their loved ones don't depend on them for survival. They need not be the breadwinner. They are valuable and worthy of love either way, as in...
Yes, and that's the point I was going to make before you decided to be generous and interrupt me, was that men have worth in of themselves. It's not just being a provider. Being a provider can be a part of that. That can be something that they find self-fulfillment in, and that's wonderful. But just because they're not doing that doesn't mean that they're worth less. You know? Human beings have beauty outside of their utility to others. Thank you, King of Barbies, for gifting a sub to Textus Blunky. Much love to you. I like baths, but it doesn't mean I do baths. Fair enough. I see you. And we're on level 2, so I've got, what did I say? Finger masculinity, toxic masculinity.
Indeed, all people are. If the boys need to provide to be happy, fulfilled, and mentally healthy individuals, if that is just a natural, normal part of being a man, something they can't change, and our goal is to prevent them from feeling those feelings, that would seem to suggest that men should at least be financially privileged, so that they get to be the providers, that we shouldn't meddle in that natural, normal state of affairs. Now, yeehaw, hold up there, partners. I'm not trying to present that as Shue's opinion. I don't think it is. I doubt very much she would say that that is what she believes.
Yeah, because right-wingers are idiots who don't understand what they believe. They don't understand a lot of what's going on, okay? They would never admit that the things that they believe have the terrible consequences that they do actually lead to. They say dumb shit all the time about how they think their economic... Look, they genuinely think their economic theory will lead to a trickle-down. So they would never say, I believe in the ever-increasing accumulation of wealth at the top end of society. They would never say that, but they do actually believe that. They do actually... it does actually lead to that scenario coming to pass. And they know that because it's happened for the last 40 fucking years and they don't change. So that's actually fundamentally what they do believe. But they would never say it because they're idiotic or dishonest. Or some combination of the two. So yeah, ShoeOnHead would never say, oh, I'm just trying to enforce a rigidly hierarchical, patriarchal system because I was raised in that system and it's the thing that makes me feel most comfortable. I have a role that's clearly defined that I can live within that system, that I find easier than the potentially scary but far more free non-hierarchical system. She would never say that, but it is what she believes.
Consciously, I don't want to present those as her words, nor would I sink so low as to edit two sentences she said together to make them appear to be her words. They are not. She is not saying that. It would be a lie if I said that she was saying that. But it is the unavoidable extrapolation from what she is saying, leaving me with the question, does she kind of believe that on some level? Or did she simply not realize that implication? And in either case, it speaks to what I think is a blind spot in her reasoning. She seems to consistently frame the feelings of men as taking priority over the needs of others. She lists examples of women's victories in the workplace or university and kind of just baselessly speculates that this is the reason men are getting more depressed.
Men have been dropping out of college like flies.
Okay.
And what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate.
Okay, let's think that through for a minute. If that is the case, what are women to do about it? Simply forego their own ambitions, careers, and educations because pursuing them might make the fellas sad? We're meant to accept that men become sad when they have fewer options, but would not other people as well? Would not women become sad if they cannot have job? And just spitballing here, while we're throwing out ideas, maybe those men could still date women that make more money than them. Unless somehow they came to the conclusion that in order to be a good partner and desirable as a man, they would need to be the natural provider. Unless that were the case, of course it's not.
Exactly, which again is the point. It's the rigid hierarchy system that she's actually trying to enforce, which, whether she realises it or not, is what she's trying to do. Yeah. Just, yeah. Mad. Thank you everyone for the hype train. Much love to you. Take her accountable. No, that's not fair. ShoeOnHead's an idiot, but she's allowed... Being an idiot shouldn't be, in of itself, a cancelable offence. Just saying. 255 says, I don't think right-wingers understand the implications of what they believe and how they vote. Like, my dad will vote Tory then complain about the NHS being underfunded. Yeah, right-wingers don't seem to understand. And I think this is the old dichotomy of the rich right-winger and the poor right-winger. Basically, there are two types of right-winger. An idiot... or grifter. And to find out which one you are, open your wallet. The rich right-winger is doing it for their own interest. The poor right-winger is a fucking idiot who doesn't understand. It's kind of as simple as that, actually.
Not that I think Shue believes men's feelings should take first priority. That would be a ridiculous thing for her, a woman, to believe. It's just that I think her sympathies are more in line with anti-feminist positions than one might expect. And she's not doing that in like an insidious way, you know? It's just that she was an anti-feminist for a long time. She is obviously sympathetic to their reasoning and has cultivated a following of people who are also very sympathetic to that reasoning. You can see that, for example, when she brings up women being more likely to go to post...
Okay, now you're just turning it into a sex stream again. You're just turning it into a sex dream. And I appreciate it enormously. Thank you. Oh, well, I don't know why, but I think it's the leather that reminded me. Christy, are you still around? Actually, that's a weird way of putting it. Trust me, we get back to Christy being involved in a second. Christy, are you still here? If not, then I'll just play you this tomorrow. It's not a problem. She might have gone off to do stuff. I don't know. I have no idea what she's up to. Actually, I can play... Yeah, you are still here. Okay. Right, Christy, there are two things you like in this world, right? German shit and rap music. And I found, I think, the perfect combination of those two things. If I can fucking find it. Where is it? We've got Oktoberfest version of Straight Outta Compton.
Strength of street knowledge.
Straight outta Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. From the gang called Fellas with Attitudes. When I'm called off, I got a sawed off. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you mess with me. The police are gonna have to come and get me off your ass. That's how I'm going out. For the punk motherfucker that's showing out. People start to mumble, they wanna rumble. Mix them and cook them in a pot like gumbo. Going off on a motherfucker like that. With a gat that's pointed at your ass. So give it up smooth. Ain't no telling when I'm down for a jack move. Here's a murder rap to keep you dancing. With a crime record like Charles Manson. AK-47 is the tool. Don't make me act like a crazy little fool. Me and you can go toe to toe, no maybe. I'm knocking fellas out the box daily, yo, weekly, monthly, yearly. Until them dumb motherfuckers see clearly that I'm down with the capital CPT. Boy, you can't fuck with me. So when I'm in your neighborhood, you better duck. Cause Ice Cube is crazy as I leave, believe I'm stomping. But when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton. Damn,
that was dope.
You're quite right, it was dope.
Secondary education, as though that implies men are, if anything, actually economically disadvantaged, that we have overcorrected, and now men are the ones being held back. But
You're welcome, Christy. You're welcome. Your panties will never be dry again, I'm sure.
like, those figures change a lot when you compare graduation rates for fields that are more likely to make lots and lots of money. At one point, she talks about how the Tumblr feminists she was mocking back in the day are now transphobes, and thus, we all should have cut her some slack back then.
90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators. We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence.
Oh god, weird turfery for no fucking reason. Brilliant.
By the way, you know the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist and rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then.
No. Fuck you.
I think there are a few problems with what she's saying here. I think that there are, for example, a lot of valid criticisms of Tumblr-style pop feminism, and I think chief among those criticisms is a culture of toxic performative inclusion.
Hang on. Whoa. Reminds me of Barney the Purple Dinosaur making those hip-hop covers. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck that... Why are you telling me that this thing exists and not giving me the links to these things immediately? I need to hear Barney doing hip-hop. What's going on there? Also, it's interesting that ShoeOnHead now claims to be pro-trans. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad she's changed her opinion on that. But I just want to know, when did she change her opinion on that? Because she used to be very, very transphobic. So, you know. That's a thing.
Where people climb over one another to tick more diversity boxes rather than meaningfully examine the power dynamics between different types of people in any sincere way. And of course, no doubt some Tumblr-style hyper-online feminist keyboard warriors have grown turfy in old age. But that isn't a criticism, I think, that necessarily applies to that style of pop feminism. At worst, I guess you could say that it's vulnerable to entryism from turf lords, but that seems much more common among the type of people Shue was pals with at that time. Nor do I think Shue is fighting with them on that basis, nor do I think anyone who criticized her prior anti-feminist position would have been mad at her if she had been, nor does her allegiance to trans rights seem all that ironclad, seeing as how She later goes on to claim that within leftist spaces, trans men are somehow less discriminated against than cis men.
Misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way. I see, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now.
Oh, for sure, if there's one group that I think gets no benefit of the doubt, it's cis men. And trans people famously always given the benefit of the doubt. That makes a lot of sense. You're a serious person.
Miss on...
That is an absolutely fair and delightfully sarcastically made point. Concur.
Head. You are confused, I think. When people say misandry doesn't exist, they don't mean it like you think they mean it. Because of course it's possible for people to not like men or to speak ill of them or to individually have prejudices against them. That's common sense. When people say that misandry doesn't exist, they mean it more in the sense that it doesn't exist as a systemic oppressive force in the same way that misogyny does. That any systemic problems men might face are better understood as a product of the maintenance of patriarchy than a willful effort to oppress men and privilege women. People are quick to distinguish between cis men and trans men about this because the world treats those two groups quite differently. People often impose restrictions and oppression on trans men in a way they do not on cis men, and thus, it is necessary to point out the distinction. Ben Affleck is history's most sad man. Nobody bats an eye. Elliot Page doesn't smile for like 2 seconds in an interview. Obviously, transitioning has robbed him of all joy.
I feel joy.
I feel joy.
My dog going on walks.
So much joy.
Getting down.
Does it look like this person experiences any kind of joy?
Right-wingers, their arguments are so piss poor. Their arguments are so embarrassingly fucking stupid. I mean, nothing will, I think, ever beat pronouns, California modern day shit. Like that guy. That guy is fucking wild. And the right wing have created this little echo chamber for themselves where you can just say that dumb shit and it sounds convincing to the people who will give you money to say the unconvincing bullshit because that's what they wanted to hear in the first place. It's the Fox Newsification of the right.
Do you see the difference?
Studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the homies. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss...
What's this? UK builders go woke. Studies find 3/4 of tradesmen discuss their feelings with colleagues, while 2/3 shun the fried breakfasts, and nearly half they are history buffs. Half say they're history, which is the gayest thing to be at all. Yeah. Also, motherfucker, that's from the Daily Mail. That's from the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail. So a right-wing rag uses a right-wing talking point to try and enforce right-wing social values, but that's the left's problem. That's the left's fault. Somehow. How? What the fuck? Again, like I say, just unconvincing drivel. You can just say any old fucking shit on the right, and you can get by with it. You don't have to make any sensible arguments that actually have any intellectual consistency. You don't have to have any substance to anything you say. You don't have to have any fucking proof or anything. No evidence necessary. Just put a random headline from right-wing paper. Job done.
Discuss history. Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and...
Oh, Hunter Avalone. Oh, this is nice then. Don't tell me they aren't systemic problems affecting men.
Stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays?
Alex Roivas, is that true? PragerU has blamed Andrew Tate on the left and feminism. By all means, tell me all about it. Okay, that's just the Wurzels thinking Sabercat. I'm not playing the Wurzels. I get the idea you're doing there. They make a cover of a popular song and it's funny, but I wanted to hear Barney the dinosaur like doing rap music or whatever. Yeah, that's the same. Okay, stop spamming the same link thingy, Sabercat.
The video she pulled the clip of me talking from, by the way, is actually about this distinction. The difference between toxic masculinity and just guys being dudes. It's a video all about how meat-headed Dumbo fake masculinity makes men lonely and miserable. That guys like Nick Adams, who pose outdated gender essentialist stereotypes on men, are, in my opinion, the primary drivers of the male loneliness epidemic she is criticizing here.
Hey, have you ever noticed that the version of masculinity that guys like Adams promote is fucking miserable? That all of the little weirdos, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, the fresh and fit ghouls, they all propose this type of manhood that is just completely joyless and empty, where bonds between people are impossible, and the only way two human beings can relate to one another is through the veiled or not so veiled threat of violence.
The idea that men must be strong at all times and never show their feelings, that's gonna make them crack, because people can't do that. It seems pretty obvious to me that men have feelings, and I think therefore should let those feelings be expressed. So fellas, how you feeling? Comment below. She argues, however, that toxic masculinity has been...
How am I feeling? Hungry. I'm feeling hungry. Full stop. I am feeling hungry.
Around forever. And if anything, nowadays, it's more accepted for men to talk about their feelings. So they should be feeling pretty tight, actually.
Men have been socialized.
Oh god. Oh, Prager, you were so fucking stupid. Are red-pilled men just a psyop for the feminist agenda? Again, Prager, you are the perfect example of the point that I was just making about they don't need to make good arguments. In fact, they don't need to make arguments full stop. Just make up any old fucking shit. What is this?
That's why I fucked your bitch, you fat motherfucker. West side, bad boy killers, you know who the realest is, nigga.
Okay, I can't really play that because of the copyright, but thank you, Thinking Sabercat. I appreciate that. Much love.
This way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomenon. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of...
Oh, you know... Well, she has changed a little bit then, because she never even used to accept that toxic... I always fuck that phrase up. Toxic masculinity even existed. So she's, you know... She's got one thing right, so that's, you know... That technically counts as personal growth, I suggest. Is PragerU an even worse version of Babylon B at this point? Basically, yeah. Yeah. Because Babylon B thinks it's being funny. Which ironically makes it very funny that they're not funny. Do you see what I mean? It becomes like a meta-analysis on the lack of funniness, and therefore it becomes funny in a way that they totally didn't really mean. Much like Elon Musk. Elon Musk is hilarious because he thinks he's very funny and isn't, and that level of cringe, that level of distilled dumbass cringe is fucking hilarious. It's quite brilliant. Did you? Oh god! I mean, it's not really funny. It's just sort of interesting. I don't know. His latest brilliant idea. Old Elon. Fucking find it. Where are we? Hang on a second. You know, he took away the headlines from articles, so it was just a fucking picture. Which everyone said, that's a dumb idea, don't fucking do that. What? You stupid bastard. Well, he's basically reversed that decision. And all of his dick riders are now, I mean, just enraptured with the fantastic idea of having headlines back. That's literally it. Look, it's... So... In an upcoming release, X will overlay title in the upper portion of the image of a URL card. So he's bringing back headlines that were already there that people said don't do it. And he said, and Ian Miles Chung, that'll look aesthetically pleasing. So we've got an addition to the old thing. Do you remember the old one was, the old meme was Elon Musk slams his cock in a door, the car door, and his friends, his dick riders go, oh, that's brilliant. What a fantastic, wonderful gambit, sir. Right? Now we can add in, he then opens the door and releases his penis from the door, and everyone goes, wow, oh, that was brilliant. Woo! So innovative. He's a great thinker. They're clownish people. They really are. Did you watch my YouTube poop yet? I have not. I did see it. You put it in the Discord, didn't you? Or put it, or you sent it to me on Discord. Well, look at it now, Sister Rose. By the way, everyone go and follow Sister Rose. She is officially a fucking badass. I have no idea what this is, but they did a video on YouTube, so we're going to take a look. Oop.
I spent 72 incredible years at Apple, helping to design designs and designs ranging from the blueprints to the with rot and sludge, into the devices from the desk to the iDesk and to the Apple desk. That is net. And as the power of increased, the size of our decreased. The desk paved the way for extraordinary interconnectedness, but it was stuck to your desk. In fact, in 2017,
who changed the Discord fucking thing? I was right. So I'll just show you rather than trying to explain it. Right. So I went onto the Discord for the message from Sister Rose. Then I looked for my Discord, right? The Discord on so you scroll up and down the thing, and the old Discord was the picture of me as the Sphinx. So I was scrolling up and down for ages, and I was like, where the fuck's it gone? What? And some dickhead has changed it to that image of the picture that isn't even me with John Candy. I can't even trust my own mods. They will betray me at every turn. I'm like Caesar, in that I'm a bit gay.
Of like gender non.
Oh, hang on.
the legendary desk journalist Mossberg wrote in his final column that he felt that one day the desk would become invisible. Phones used to eat a ton of these when I was a kid, and the would disappear. And we agree. Sorry, this is my wife. This is my desk. This is my.
I apologise for that anime. I didn't realise there was going to be anime in this video. Degenerate filth.
My wife. My wife. I'm gonna have to get this. Hello? Hey, Bethany. Hey, how's it going?
Good, are you a Ted?
Yeah, I'm on the red circle right now, actually.
Oh, great. Good luck, and don't mention me.
I won't, babe. You. I love you too. Bye.
Okay, that was nice. That was nice.
It's gonna get different in a minute. Let me show you.
I don't know who this guy is, by the way.
Where can I find a hentai? The gift for my wife before I have to leave tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Oh, actually, sorry. I am going to have to do this, though, just briefly. We haven't... Oh, fuck's sake, I keep getting distracted by a million different things. So, you mentioned... hentai came up. It was what's it called? Fucking Countdown, the British show Countdown, right? And my favourite one from Scottish Patter of the Countdown bit. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Scrolly, 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 scroll. It's got to be here somewhere. Don't fuck with me, you fucking prick. Fuck you. Come on. Wasn't that long ago, was it? Beep, 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 beep. Was it really this long ago? There we go.
Shagger. All day long.
Shagger! Shagged is also there. Just saying.
Yes!
Shagger.
Island is a lively shopping district.
Hentai is brilliant.
Like, I think it's deeply profound that there's no judgment. Can I eat this?
Milky Bar contains cocoa. You may want it.
Gross. I'm gonna eat it.
Enjoy cocoa.
But what's cool is my AI knows what's best for me. But what's cool is my wife knows what's best for extraordinary intercourse. But it was Bill Gates stuck to your desk, just wrestling with our hooks. This is good action. It's even harder held in your hand. And it won't be on your face either. He's cute though. My wife, Bethany.
My wife.
For the 1000th time.
My wife.
As a doctor.
And there is an incredible...
Yeah, see you later, Christy. Everyone go and follow Rolling Left, etc., etc. I'll see you tomorrow.
Amount of strap-ons. In fact, I'm wearing one right now. Tap, 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 tap.
Come on, Ryan, that's shite dancing.
That's amazing. Like riding a bicycle in the park. Like riding my wife in the park. More than ever. And you may ask yourself, why? And you may ask yourself, how do I work this? And you may ask yourself, where is
Oh god, it's like that fucking song. And you might ask yourself, how do I get a beautiful wife and a beautiful house? As the days go by, underground as the days go by. Fucking shit.
Huge or more heels, and you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. My wife disappeared.
Wife gone.
This meme is good. Thank you.
I don't know what this was.
It is called the Field Desk, a space truss constructed from recycled aluminum and assembled with double-sided
Aluminium, America. It's not that difficult, actually.
Formica birch plywood. Sorry, birch.
Okay, that's a link to whatever the fuck that was. Just saying. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Rose, for being delightfully mental. Anyway, back to this dickhead.
Nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s.
I genuinely have no idea what she thinks toxic masculinity is here. She seems to understand it primarily as, like, needing to present traditionally masculine, which is...
Because she's... the conservative culture warrior thinks that culture started 10 minutes ago. They don't understand anything from, like, the last century, basically.
Certainly part of it, I suppose, but, you know, there's still the whole men being socialized not to talk about their feelings thing you literally just talked about. Like, you literally just talked about. Feels like it's still a pretty big problem, actually, based on the thing you just said. She instead places the blame partially on economic anxiety, which, yeah, I would agree with to an extent.
The housing crisis and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently.
And the rise of social...
See, that's the point. She realised that right-wing economics are a fucking disaster. That's the only thing that changed about her. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that she has come to that realization, but she's still everything else that was wrong with her before, except that now she's added, I don't know, a very poor understanding of Marxist economics to it. Brilliant. I mean, it's not that much of a step forward, in all honesty, but cool.
Social media and internet pornography, which is...
What social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when
See, the thing is, she can do a joke about Ted Kaczynski, and that's fun, in a way. But also, her audience, probably a significant chunk of them, probably actually agree with a lot of the Unabomber's approach to the world. So whether she realises it or not, she's giving a nudge and a wink to the thing that she's ironically mentioning there. Okay.
I can just tap, buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day. Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from Twitter and streamers? Why go on dates and bother?
You only need streamers, okay? Streamers are the greatest amongst us. All you need is to watch streamers, specifically me, and give me money in the form of bits and subscriptions. Some people will say it's parasocial. I think it's paranormal. Okay?
Other meeting women when I could just tap, Google big boob and get 2 million results. Or see my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're f***ed. We're so f***ed.
Okay. So a couple problems. I have it on good authority that there are people on social media and indeed within the economy who are not men. So why then would the rise of social media make men specifically more unhappy? Why would economic anxieties primarily affect men? Why is it, do you think, internet pornography is so bad for men when various non-men are perfectly capable of becoming horny? Don't believe me? Turn off Safe Search and Google Spiderpunk. Seems like if that was the explanation...
I will not be doing that, and I advise you not to do that too.
Everyone would be getting sadder because everyone is equally exposed to these things. And since it seems to be the case that this would affect everyone...
When Strimmer says your name, you know what, I'll bite. Fatal meltdown. I did it. I said your name.
And in case you want to dispute that, here's you saying it.
A few new studies have come out that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030. But according
Don't know why being single and childless is synonymous with being lonely, but go off, Queen, yeah.
According to the media, this is a good thing. The she-economy is booming, as they say.
Wouldn't framing this as a men's issue, which we need to look after men's concerns in order to correct, kind of imply that men's mental health takes priority over that of others? Shue attempts to make the case that the...
What's this? Did you see that Vosh was totally owned by Paul's ego? Well, that's difficult to believe, as he literally tried to talk to a guy who was doing 60-hour weeks working in education, all from Vosh, whose working history was working at Starbucks. I didn't see that. If you have a link and a timestamp, I'll be more than happy to take a look. Excuse me, I need to Google something. Like you don't have that shit already bookmarked, please.
reason the right is more successful at courting young boys... Yeah, that's how I'm going to phrase it, is that the left doesn't even talk to them. We just sit in our ivory tower and we don't care, and we just say, it's not my job to educate you. And we sip our soy lattes and invent new pronouns to call each other. Now listen.
True.
I will never try to make the argument that leftists are not annoying. If your point was simply that leftists should be less annoying, I would open my heart to your words. You would be speaking directly to my soul. But to suggest that any leftist anywhere on earth would give up the opportunity to talk for a long period of time at anyone who might theoretically listen? Ludicrous, fanciful, wishful thinking. I think Shue is once again just taking the right's framing of this for granted. That the right are the
Because she's a right-wing propagandist, that's why.
only ones taking men's concerns seriously and treating them like human beings. To wit, a bunch of mean tweets from leftists. Leftists make mean tweets about men, so obviously They don't know any or talk to any. And if one can't be reasonable on Twitter, a place famous for level-headed, even-keeled discussion, then surely they have abandoned the male race. Unlike the right, who is famously polite on Twitter and always work hard to take men's mental health very seriously and reach out gently with a sympathetic ear. Kindness, compassion, understanding, these are the watchwords of right-wing Twitter. She gives, as a case study of this phenomenon, a young Mr. Andrew Tate, and presents his explosion in popularity as a sort of organic consequence of the left abandoning men to the mercy of the right. Guys like Tate and Peterson, she claims, rose to power simply because men yearned for genuine mental health advice and the left was simply too uncaring to offer it to them, instead choosing to vilify them as toxic and privileged and to repeatedly insist they do not commit sexual assault.
The reason young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape? Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping?
So she makes a lot of hay of this, and she is, of course, correct in pointing out that it won't help any man's individual mental health to hear that. But also, it seems really weird to suggest, some might say dishonest to suggest, that that was the point anyone was making.
Exactly. Again, it's the shell game that the right play. They will conflate general societal advice, like public policy position advice, like, you know, educating boys and men about not being rapists or whatever, right? With the advice one would give to an individual human, especially a point of weakness for them, which of course no one is suggesting, and no one would suggest because it would be a fucking stupid thing to say. But that's the right-wing shell game. That's their Martin Bailey situation that they'll always fucking do because they're dishonest bastards.
Because really, it seems pretty clear that the tweets she was showing weren't suggesting men are depressed and lonely because they are rapists, and that the left advises them to knock that off, but rather that guys like this are giving bad advice which encourages men to behave rapefully. Like a lot of their advice.
Rapefully? That was not a phrase I was prepared for. Okay.
Boils down to disregard people's boundaries, and that's kind of a fucked up thing to teach people, I think, is the point everyone was making with this glib remark. It does not seem as though they were genuinely offering do not rape as mental health advice. I don't think it was her intention to be sympathetic to Peterson or Tate. She is, after all, making...
I think it was, because that's what she is. She is sympathetic to those people. I don't know her positions on those two exact people, but those characters are exactly the people that she echoes and has always echoed.
This video, partially at least, to talk about how harmful they specifically are, and how the left, in her view, is ill-equipped to confront them. She nonetheless seems to share their view of themselves and their role in the discourse and how they became popular. She says, for example, that Tate seldom talks about politics. He just talks about men.
Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate.
I don't really know what that means. Like, I guess Tate doesn't talk about electoral politics very often. He does sometimes, but not as often as other stuff. But like, discussing men and the way that men ought to behave and how the world ought to treat men or anyone else and the various power dynamics between those groups, that is political. If we divorce these men from their own myth-making, the circumstances of their respective rises to popularity are quite different than Shue has presented them here. Jordan Peterson first grew to popularity by lying about Bill C-16, a needlessly controversial amendment to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which extended existing protections against discrimination to include discrimination against gender identity. He rode the popularity wave of transphobic hate speech and parlayed that into a career as a public intellectual and parlayed that into a self-help grift. He didn't simply get popular out of nowhere.
And then went on a benzo fucking freak out and ended up in a controlled coma in Russia, was it? Where his daughter gave him COVID. Definitely the kind of person you want to be taking self-help advice from. 100%, 100%. Very sensible, stable man. When I think about the kind of person who I want to give me advice on my life, it's a guy who cries about the film Frozen because it's the downfall of Western civilization. Very emotionally stable man. A man who lies about, staying away for 2 weeks, staying awake for 2 weeks in a row because he drank a glass of apple cider. Very sensible man, very honest, reasonable human being who we should all take advice from. Honest.
Because men yearn for his sage advice. Andrew Tate became popular on social media by having the men in his self-help groups receive discounts if they flooded social media with posts about how cool and or sick he is. It wasn't simply an effect of his natural charisma.
Sparkling water you have to buy. So if you only drink sparkling water, you only drink rich man's water. You ever meet a man who's afraid of sparkling water, know this. He's certainly afraid of combat.
Or a world that was yearning.
If you ever meet a man who hates sparkling water, you meet a man who's scared of combat. What the fuck does that mean? I don't even know what that means. I can't get my head around that one. Total rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
For someone like him, it was a deliberate and clever, albeit highly unethical media strategy that paid off. Something he was able to pursue because he was already a very successful sex trafficker. Both of these guys have an easy time winning the allegiance of young boys and depressed, desperate men because they're willing to lie. They don't actually care about the well-being of these men and boys. They'll just say whatever makes them a quick buck. Even if what they're saying hurts those men and boys, they'll just tell them whatever easy answers they already want to hear. That's why their audiences are full of either very...
255 says, I go to emotional counselling. She's never said, have you tried not being a rapist just because I'm a dude? Well, exactly it, because no one does that. Again, it's a lie that right-wingers say. Because they're freaks. They're lying freaks.
young people who lack adult critical thinking skills, or vulnerable people who are more easily subject to that type of emotional manipulation. They have no problem claiming that, if you do as they say, all your problems will just be solved forever on their own. You'll stop being depressed, you'll make more money, you'll get strong, you will receive mad puss. It's not that, like, leftists just never thought of offering advice to men. It's that this is not a strategy that the left could or should emulate. Because, like, our goal, I hope, is not simply to trick people for easy money. We can't just lie to them. We can't ignore their safety or best interests in service of getting them to do what we want. We can't say, for example, that if they become intersectional feminists and study bell hooks, they'll get mad puss. I don't think it would hurt, but why would it help? I don't think it would do that. It's certainly not a guarantee.
Mad Puss, a feminist primer. Someone needs to write that book. Fuck yes.
I think we can agree on that much. There are a lot of factors which determine whether or not you get mad puss. Perhaps take some time to examine why it is you feel entitled to mad puss in the first place. And for that matter, whether you are seeking mad puss simply as a means of projecting a sort of misguided social capital. After you've done that work, also try learning guitar. I don't know, maybe that'd help. Beyond even that, once again, as I said in the video she misquoted me from, it is just more difficult to get a privileged group on the side of eliminating said privilege because, you know, they benefit from it. It privileges them, one might say. That is what privilege is. It's the only way that privilege can exist, because otherwise, if no one had an interest in maintaining it, it would just evaporate. It would go away on its own. That does not require, of course, that the privileged group is consciously, willfully suppressing those they have privilege over, though sometimes they might be, or that they're necessarily deliberately malicious in some way, though sometimes they might be.
Oh yeah, it's not even on the screen. Sorry, hang on. Right, so that's the image that comes up. And so he's talking about Israel, okay. Which, you know, fair enough.
Or that they're necessarily deliberately malicious in some way, though sometimes they might be. Men aren't privileged because they sit around scheming about how to oppress other people, obviously. I think it goes without saying that most men, given the choice, would prefer that all people are treated equally. I think that is the normal thing that pretty much everyone wants. But it's just self-evidently more difficult to get people who benefit from inequality on board with the project of equality. All things being equal, people like to have benefits. Why else would most feminist icons be women? Why else would most civil rights icons be black? This isn't difficult stuff.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Andrew Tate and all of those people don't want to help men at all. It's just a grift. It's just a grift. They couldn't give a fuck about men. As can be seen by the fact that he goes on about poor men being bad. So it's not men that he's looking to help, it's himself that he's looking to help.
This isn't complex theory, it's common sense, and here's you saying it.
Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like,
You have said that. I'm certain you've said that in the past.
no f***ing shit.
You are saying that, okay.
Actually think they harm men quite a bit, but you were responding to someone who phrased it as though they help men, so I guess I'll give you a pass on that one. Still, maybe that's something you might have wanted to clarify. I would have thought, at least, that it wasn't controversial to say that we need not try to court or appeal to people whose goals and beliefs are directly contrary to our own. Like, we obviously cannot
Like ShoeOnHead.
convince everyone. People who explicitly reject our goals should not be welcome within our movement. We
Like ShoeOnHead.
either get those people on board with our goals, or we tell them to fuck clean off. And we're never gonna get everyone on board. Some people need to be told to fuck clean off. The goals are the
Okay, yes. Correct.
whole thing the movement is for. There's no sense building a big movement if that movement doesn't have a goal in line with what we want. Perhaps our energy is better spent making the rejection of our goals politically costly than just banging our heads against the wall trying fruitlessly to convert people whose material interests motivate them to oppose us. It seems like an effective strategy because each time one of these costs is extracted, the right piss and shit their diaper about how unfair and scary it is.
Yep. What was it? To the privileged, equality seems like oppression.
They seem to dislike this strategy quite a bit, which suggests to me that it is working. Of course, they'll always say it doesn't. And if your audience is full of people with that kind of sympathy, you might come to believe that it doesn't work because the people who don't want us to do it are telling you that. When I talk about people who oppose our goals, I don't mean men as a category of person, because men are, give or take, roughly half the population. It would be disastrously unwise to simply abandon half of the population. I do not think men, as a general rule, are evil or unreachable, or that the left should simply not try to get men on board or accept that sexist men can never have their minds changed. That's maybe something I should have specified in the video, because a lot of people seem to think, or were motivated to pretend, I was saying that we should never try to get men on board with us. So I should have made that clear. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Wait just 1 minute. I just looked on https://youtube.be/GFL4SE4PZWG?SI=PKR QF4GO-GN9 and I did. I did do that mere seconds after the clip Shoe used in her video.
We have to be okay with alienating certain groups of people. Just pausing here because I don't think I did a great job of clarifying this point. I am not saying that dudes are unreachable. I'm saying that there are a portion of dudes who are unreachable. They're a small minority.
That's so fucking weird. Because from the way that people are talking to me, from the way that people are responding to what I said, it's as though I didn't say that. And what's up with that, everybody? It's kind of like my words were taken out of a larger word zone. I don't know if there's a term for that, but like the
Word zone. You took me out of word zone.
see my point here? Because our position is basically, hey there, fellas, you should join us, because here's why. It's the right thing to do, and while you obviously benefit enormously from the structure as it is that we're attempting to dismantle, people other than you will suffer, so please accept this enormous moral burden for the rest of your life. While the right-wing position is basically, hey, fellas, you know those people you want to control? Well, they should be your slaves, and they should cook and clean and fuck you whenever you want, because you're cooler and smarter than them, basically. You're really special and you deserve that. And if any of that makes you feel bad, like it makes you feel like you have some empathy for them, just know that God said so, and God is the moral arbiter of the universe, so it's okay.
Thou deserveth, mad puss. True. Fact, it's in the Bible.
Hey, to think this, it's normal and natural. Do you see how the bad position is kind of an easier sell? How that's a clearer value proposition? How the left is kind of fighting an uphill battle, and to suggest that it's simply a lack of effort on our part is kind of willfully, disastrously ignorant? How our methods are not so easily disentangled from our goals, and to suggest that we emulate the methods of our opponents could have the unintended consequence of undermining those goals? Now, none of this should be controversial. I would call it Feminism 101, but it's not even that, really. These are the starting positions that everyone should be able to agree on, that a feminist might use to construct a Feminism 101 argument. Even the most ardent anti-feminist should be able to admit that if male privilege exists, whether or not they concede that it does, some men would want it. Far be it from me to suggest that she in any way read my video in bad faith, because
she did. She obviously did.
I really don't think she watched it. She probably just watched the video she linked in her description.
Okay, that's also possible.
Of Vosh, who did read it in bad faith, and she got mad at that. It was just, more helpful to both of their positions to pretend to believe that I'm...
Wow, Mildred was snatching wigs here. Mildred chose violence this day. They wanted the drama. Throwing ShoeOnHead is one thing. The Vushmeister, I dare say, will have something to say about this particular video, given that they were mentioned. I think so. They don't get on as it is,
saying that all men are bad and evil, and decide to do harm to not men on purpose because of their bad, evil nature. That men deserve to be lonely and non-men should isolate themselves from men who are too dangerous to be trusted. Which is a weird thing to think that I would advocate for, because while I don't consider myself a man, strictly speaking, I am typically perceived as one. I piss amongst the menfolk, and nobody finds that unusual or strange. I have, within my possession, an entire penis and testicles. Many people, superstitiously, would argue that that alone makes me intrinsically and irrevocably male. So do you see how that line of argumentation could kind of backfire on me? Do you see why it would be disastrously unwise for me to stand in front of 300,000 people and say, hey everybody, you know that group that you think I'm part of, that I can never leave? They're evil and they want to kill you and you should stay away from them. They cannot be reached or changed. Do not trust them. It is not worth our time or effort to try. That could kind of...
That will be clipped out of context. Sorry, out of word zone.
Backfire on me, don't you think? This should be obvious if one applies even the most basic standard of critical thinking, instead of trying to imagine I said whatever...
Critical race theory.
Makes your audience most mad. And I'm being very critical of Shue here, but let's give the devil her due. I think she likely does genuinely care about men's mental health issues. I think she has enough compassion to see people suffering and to be moved by it. Let us now observe Shue's compassion for men.
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. None of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men.
I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on, bro.
Did he say it's okay to hate men?
Yeah. What a compassionate view you have towards men. I'm glad that you're an advocate for men, Shue. Really, I can feel the love radiating from you.
Did he say that? Because it sounded like he said a different thing, and you just kind of vilified a man having a mental health breakdown. That's the type of thing one might not do if they cared about men's mental health.
Listen up, chuckle. I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist. I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation.
Oh, I don't know.
She's a very gross person.
Maybe this is just me, but I do feel like if someone is talking about all of the problems they have with their appearance, that is a sign that they are perhaps not emotionally healthy. And to laugh at them and call them hideous and pathetic could be perceived as one not caring about that person's mental health. And it makes her mad when she thinks she sees people...
They did a funny noise on the video. It did amuse me, though. I'm not going to lie, it did.
...snidely dismissing that suffering. And it also makes her mad to see me at all, so she would like very much to pretend that is what I did. But no, I was actually not snidely dismissing their suffering. I was snidely supporting their suffering. And I'm not like mad that she used a clip of me that made me look bad, because that would make me a huge hypocrite. I make myself look bad all the time. It's fun to do. I get that. I just think that her analysis...
I do that as well. I make myself look like a twat all the time. So, checkmate, libs.
that this subject is dangerously myopic, that she's really applying a bad faith lens to any and all feminist analysis, no matter how basic. She doesn't seem willing to consider the greater context that any of these issues exist within. And she seems to give a lot more weight and consideration to anti-feminist arguments than I think is helpful in this discussion. But, that doesn't mean we have to behave in the same way. We don't need to miss her larger point either, because she is correct, of course, that there is a mental health crisis, and it does affect men, that men kill themselves at alarming rates, that men feel despondent and hopeless and lonely, and it behooves us all to try and be as compassionate as we can in dealing with that. But, you know, let's be careful who we blame that problem on, because it's not that the left isn't trying, it's that the right is able to manipulate people, and we're trying not to do that. And that puts us inherently at a disadvantage. And the worst thing we could do right now is try to adopt similar tactics, because that would be abandoning men. That would be not taking their concerns or well-being seriously.
This is just true, yeah. This is actually a very good point. I don't want us to just become a Marxist version of the right. Fuck that noise.
Instead, I think the basic common sense solution to all of these problems is a sort of mandatory feminization of all cis men. We will sweep across the globe like a horde of estrogen locusts and destroy the entire concept of maleness and masculinity. We'll dye the oceans pink. We're going to remake Breaking Bad with an all-female cast. We're going to put tampons on the New World Order flag. Hello and welcome to...
Yeah. I mean, that's just true. That is what we're going to do. Fact.
The Y-Ball Chromosome, the only Eldritch Horror YouTube promotional segment exclusively for boys. That's not to say that we exclusively feature men, or that we exclusively benefit men, because we don't really benefit anybody. All fall before the unspeakable might of the eyeball. But I mean a secret third thing. Also, probably I should mention eyeballs on small creators. I promote other people's work. That's the idea.
Yeah, Mildred doesn't really care about what do you call it? Optics. Yeah, clearly and obviously.
I don't know if I've ever actually explained that out loud in the holy shit 4 years I've been doing this. Okay, all right, that's cool. Hey, kind of a weird, some might say, derelict of duty choice to make a video about some personal beef nobody cares about in the middle of an ongoing genocide. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes you're knee-deep in a project when the world just goes absolutely maniacal. And I'm not really sure how useful my voice on the subject might be, given my own, let's call it, tendency to default to histrionics and my personal feelings on the subject. Luckily, there are other, more responsible YouTubers to pick up my slack. In Debunking Israeli Ads, The Dark History of War Propaganda, Bridget Empire outlines not only the utterly vile tactics that Zionist propagandists are using to dehumanize Palestinians right now, but goes in depth to demonstrate the lineage of these tactics within other modern genocides. And if you think any of the words I just said have lacked nuance, then please watch this video and get back to me. Also, consider going to fuck yourself. That right there, that's what I'm talking about. You're just looking for somewhere to throw some cash? Check out the organization's Medical Aid for Palestinians or the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, both linked below. And hey, now that we've talked about, some of the darkest shit in the world, let's have a jarring tonal shift. Hello and welcome to the Son of the Eyeball Zone. Here in the Son of the Eyeball Zone, we promote, still small creators, but usually they're my pals for nepotism. Hey, remember earlier in this video when I said some of my best friends are men? That was no mere empty boast. In fact, my pal Kyle has started a project called Public Access TV Writing, where he walks you through the task of creating a pitch for a TV show.
Okay, I'll be honest, I'm not interested. Okie dokie. Someone linked me this nonsense, which is Paul's ego rages at Vash gets personal. TJ Kirk versus Vash and Palestine. Each time it got heated. It is a 18-minute video of clips or something. So we'll take a look. I have no idea.
This program is intended for mature audiences and may contain some material that is not suitable for everyone, including violence, coarse language, and unfiltered opinions. We do not endorse the views of those we report on.
Right now, yes, our government may be broadly pro-Israeli, but America is more pro-Palestine than ever before. And why? Did that just happen out of nowhere? Did that just happen out of the ether? No, it's because people worked, and they've been working for longer than any of us have been alive. There have been Palestinian advocates who for decades have had their cries for justice met with deaf ears. For decades, and only now will people listen. And yesterday, just yesterday, John Oliver, a generally presentable media personality, presented a fully pro-Palestinian take to an audience of millions of people. You can do stuff. And you know what? The consequence of you doing good stuff is that people vote smarter in future primaries and you get better presidential candidates to pick from. Without changing the first past the post system or the way we currently do things on a structural level, it's still always going to be a lesser of two evils deal.
Don't you
but
think
that doesn't mean you don't do anything.
We could save those Palestinians a lot faster if all of those people who say, hey, I want a choice on Israel, were like, I don't know if I'm voting for a Democrat this year. Earn my fucking vote.
Again, stop with the fairy time bullshit. If all of these people somehow magically coordinated, listen,
two white beardy men screaming at each other, being watched by another white beardy man, not screaming. This is content heaven. You are honestly, you should be begging me to continue. You should be paying me lots of money in the form of bits and subscriptions here on Twitch. And if you're on YouTube, you should come over to the Twitch and give me money, right? You should be begging me for more of this content. Perfect. This is what the internet was made for. Yeah, that is a pretty fierce TJ pause sitch.
Over here in reality, if some of these people all magically coordinated, if some of these people all magically coordinated,
Arizal or Dave in North London, you are a very silly person and I appreciate you enormously. They give 100 bits and said fine. You are delightful. I love you.
and they all decided on a single wedge issue. If they all decided on a single wedge issue to shift their vote on one wedge issue to another candidate who would have to be developed and organized and funded and promoted entirely on this wedge issue, they would then...
No. You just all vote in the primaries, which are definitely going to happen for Cenk. Cenk.
Have to have more people voting for them than the entire unified Republican Party. Ergo, what you're talking about has never happened, cannot happen. You are talking about fantasy bullshit. You're not happy with how tedious reality is. You are not brave for throwing up your arms in the air. You are not brave for throwing your arms up in the air, ignoring reality, and only saying you'll lift a finger off or lift your ass off the seat if some implausibly, impractical, historically unprecedented shit happens that no political analyst would ever say would happen, but you're like, only for this will I, fucking politics king, get out of my seat and do shit. You're not special. And no, you are. You're special in a class sense. You're more privileged than the people liable to suffer. If this country goes under,
Ooh, rich man. Rich boy. Oh, these two middle-class fuckheads.
I can leave. I'm rich. But there are millions of people in this country who not only don't have that privilege, but they work tirelessly to put the effort in where you think...
Does anyone miss Kev on the Hippy Dippy stream? Well, yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure everyone misses it. I miss those streams in general because they were fun, but they weren't good debates. They were just an excuse for me to shout at right-wingers and call them cunts. Or an excuse for James from the internet to call Sunsol a wanker. Again, those emotes are available. Do you want that emote? You can subscribe to the channel. It's a thing that exists.
Think there is no point. Your day for work is not at the election booth. Your day for work is 4 years
for a
before.
politician to have to earn the vote of a voter. That's not unprecedented. That's
Quit
literally politics
whining
101.
that you're not being catered to. You have it better than 90% of the people on this
We're
planet.
not talking about me personally being catered to. We're talking about the huge block of people who oppose the genocide going on in the Gaza Strip and to be heard.
And they're doing they're doing work, and their lives will not get any easier if they just don't participate.
If those politicians have to spin on that issue to change on that issue in order to secure those votes.
You're just speaking for them. You're privileged.
Yes, Leo Henry, that is the Spanish Republican flag, specifically of the International Brigades. Yeah.
You're privileged and arrogant, and you're angry, and you're using them as a shield. You're using them as a shield.
So of course these people would have a huger incentive than ever to
You're
want to
hiding
win.
behind them. The math doesn't change. The math doesn't change
Math
for you
doesn't change.
or
That's
for
right.
me,
Democrats
for nobody.
can't win
If
unless
you
people who are against
want,
the genocide still vote for them.
It was my favourite part of Friday nights during college. Dragonix, that is honestly the saddest sentence I've ever heard. You were in college, and your favourite bit of Friday night was twats on the internet. Why weren't you getting drunk and taking drugs and fucking like rabbit? Like, you should have been getting, to quote a famous philosopher, mad puss. Or dick, whatever you're into, I don't fucking know. Yeah. I'm gonna just put it this way: you wasted college. You wasted those years. You did. But you can make up for it by giving me money. You can't. No. That would actually make it sadder if you gave me money now.
Want the world to get better, you do the work between the elections, and during the election you make the best choice, and then you get your ass back to work. You, like me, spend a lot of our time whining online. That's our jobs. But the difference between you and me is that I don't think I'm special for my abstemiousness from the process that other people have lived and died and bled for, trying to build a world comfortable enough that we could be dipshits in a computer chair. You can do the work. You have to do the work. You do not have a right to complain and pretend that you are smarter for keeping your hands off the work.
Where are you people who are bleeding and dying right?
Can I just say, Vosh has a point in a general sense here, okay? Vosh does have a point. Is that you have voting for the lesser of two evils is fine in the short term, but in between elections and indeed outside of just the electoral structure as well, you have to put in the work. You have to actually do things. Setting up community groups, getting involved in trade union movements, mutual aid societies, feeding homeless people, housing homeless people, whatever, right? Just generally improving society. These are things you have to do. But the problem I have with Vosh is that Vosh only ever really seems to do the you should vote for the Democrats bit, and then doesn't, as far as I can see, now I could be wrong, maybe behind the scenes he's secretly planning some sort of leftist overthrow of the US government. I don't fucking know what he's up to. But he doesn't seem to be doing the work in between elections and outside of the electoral structure bit that he is preaching here. He doesn't seem to be actually doing that. He makes a very good point rhetorically, which is what he's very skilled at, clearly, but he doesn't seem to actually be doing that work, which makes it pretty hollow as a argument, really.
I think here this is the...
Oh, yeah, this is good. I've seen this before, but it's, yeah, awesome.
I think here this is the most important piece of evidence that we have against Hamas here. As you can see, this is a dress that civilians wear. What is this, you may ask? Hamas tunnels. This is a map of Hamas tunnels. You can see here, they all wear it, and Hamas finds where the tunnels is.
Yeah, I feel like this is just some normal dress design.
Are you do you want Israel to die? Is this what you're saying?
Oh.
Cut! Bro, give me another reporter. What the fuck? What this says, whenever we come close to their tunnels, as you can see, it senses and it says Allah Akbar. Listen to this. Allah Akbar. It says Allah Akbar.
That looks like a normal fire alarm to me.
Cut!
says Allahu Akbar. It does. I heard it. We all heard it. Hamas is the correct pronunciation.
Now, and we want to vote for the party that's allowing
The
it to happen.
people who are bleeding and dying right now, the most likely people to bleed and die, the poorest people in this country, those people vote Democrat. The poorer you are in this country, the more likely you are to vote
What is progressive victory? Is that a thing I should be aware of?
Democrat, because in spite of the fact that your average American, poor or rich, is a fucking retard, the most...
See, it's so annoying. You don't need to go to that place. You don't need to do it.
Proportion of people understand if you are poor in this country, there is a difference between living under a Democrat and living under a Republican, and you are trampling over that and the work that other people have made, the sacrifices. Do you think that winning is the hard part of politics? Losing is the name of the game. It always has been for every group all the time ever. Most of life is learning to deal with compromise. Climate change has been a known issue for well over half a century, but only in the past few decades has the popular understanding of climate change gotten to a point where Democrats, who have always, not always, but for a while now, known about the issue and kind of, teeter-tattered at the edge of it, but not really committed to it. Now, Joe Biden, he's not perfect at it, but the shift in rhetoric from now to even like early...
But that's all he's doing is rhetoric. All he's doing is a change of rhetoric. Look, what are his great green credentials? Can someone tell me that? What has Joe Biden done that makes him better than any other Democrat? He's probably a little bit better than Republicans, but again, you're just voting for the lesser of two evils. You can't convince me that he's good on this.
Obama, or hell, late Clinton, massive. And a lot of that is just because they know it's popular enough that they can get away with it in spite of the potential corporate harm. So
let's cancel the big pipeline and then make a bunch of little pipelines, Jack.
That isn't the win that you're selling here to me.
Can you engage with what I've said and not with...
I'm engaging with what you said.
Potential counterexample.
I don't care what the rhetoric from Biden is. The rhetoric in the lead up to this, when he was trying to convince people to vote for his old decrepit warmongering racist ass, was I'm going to get you $15 minimum wage. I'm going to get you a $15 minimum wage.
Your indignant betrayal at him not fulfilling every campaign promise, like...
The IRA had a lot of investment in green energy. I didn't realise that the Irish Republican Army were that interested. If I'm honest with you, I thought they were mainly about bombs and stuff. That's a purposeful misunderstanding of IRA again. I'm just going to do that forever. Every time someone brings up the Inflation Reduction Act, I will do some variation of that joke. That is my promise to you, okay? I will fucking annoy you with that shit forever.
Every other politician ever means nothing to me. His rhetoric and his policies have been better on...
No, you say that Thatcher was bad for the environment, but actually, she, having died and been buried, she will now rot away and become part of the ground. So actually, she is added to the biodiversity of the soils of Britain. So actually, you're wrong there. Can we get some lols in chat for Margaret Thatcher adding to the richness of British soil, please?
Climate than were in the past.
I don't know what's worse, my indignant betrayal.
Her corpse has provided so many nutrients for the local fauna of the area.
Or placid fucking acceptance.
So no, listen. This is you. This is the child tossing their dinner off the table.
Yeah,
I am
you
not
love calling people
I
children.
am not
You've done that one
accepting.
already.
No. I am not accepting
I'm not a
anything
fucking child,
when I
kid.
state the fact
Beverly Hills
that
fucking
Biden's
piece of shit.
rhetoric.
Are you Beverly Hills piece of shit? Oh, my ears are sweaty. My ears are sweaty. I didn't even leave the fucking heating on. It's just because I got the door closed. Hey, it's fucking winter. How can I be sweating? It's ridiculous.
and
Don't call me a fucking
policies.
child, you bitch.
Wait, be less emotional. Okay?
I've done more fucking.
Right?
I've done more fucking stand-up labor than your lily white Beverly Hills fucking ass has ever done. Don't call me a fucking child on my show.
Okay.
Oh, that's amazing. Kev has the plague, almost certainly.
Okay, then, like an
fuck
adult,
yourself.
listen to what I have to say.
I will
all right?
as soon as you
It is
agree to
not-
stop fucking being a shit.
Can you show me then? Listen, okay? Like a child myself, I lack object permanence, so I need to witness you not act like one for 5 seconds while I talk. Right? You can say it's acceptance, it's reality. The rhetoric and the policy have gotten better, and it's a product of public acceptance. You providing examples of Biden doing bad things or saying that rhetoric itself isn't enough, these are not meaningful counterarguments, okay? Things have gotten better.
No, rhetoric. No, hang on. Pointing out that rhetoric alone is not good enough
not meaningful
is a meaningful argument. That's actually a perfectly reasonable critique of the situation. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what you're even referring to. That's silly. Silly.
I'm arguing for hope. I'm arguing for a process.
A hope we can believe in. Change.
That makes
You got a
things
weird
happen.
way of arguing for hope. Life is suffering, and you just got to accept it and suck it up because that's just the way it is, Jack. Man,
And now we have
that's
weekends.
That's some real fucking thin gruel hope you've got there that you're selling.
And now we have weekends.
Oh.
Now we get to enjoy.
Yeah, for how? No, do we really though?
Yes.
See, you haven't held a fucking 9 to 5 before. I don't know what.
Oh, this is a violation. Oh, this man's absolutely fucking him up. This is moida.
Weekend was. Saturday was just a day of the week to me when I worked my fucking jobs.
Yeah, and that's
So why
rough.
don't you, like,
It's a shame
you
you've
just
turned
assume
your
everybody's
back
got
on the
weekends.
proletarian interest now. We have
Turn
weekends.
my back on it because I fucking started my own business? Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
Bitch. You want to know what my prediction is?
Yeah,
More of the
I'm
fucking
sure.
same.
Okay.
More of the
so
fucking
what?
same.
So
More
again, this
transfer
is
of wealth from
this
the
is
fuck.
This honestly, this is wild. Why haven't I fucking seen this before? Why hasn't this been shown to me? This is gold. Thank you, Wayward Historian, for gifting a sub to Anarcho Arachnid. Much love to you.
This is
Lower
what I
class
mean.
to the upper
This is what I
class.
mean by reactionary politics through abstemiousness. You think you're being elevated, smart enough to see the bullshit, like a South Park character. You are failing to identify the broad.
Well, actually, that I will admit with, not admit, but I would agree with Vash. That kind of detached South Parkification of American politics, where cynicism and being kind of above it all and detached from it is cool. Just being a cynical, fucking depressed boomer, zoomer, Gen Xer who doesn't give a fuck anymore. That's enough, apparently. That you can have that in lieu of an actual political position or a personality. Just be like nothing matters. Fuck you. That's enough. I don't really find his "I'm a really hard-working man" routine particularly convincing. Yeah, not really, but it's still funny. I don't give a fuck if it's true or not.
Side of a barn. Like, every successful socialist movement ever has been able to tell the difference, and everyone that ended up dead couldn't. The Stalinists in Germany, back during the 1930s, couldn't tell the difference between the Nazis and the Social Democrats, the Social Fascists. Which mass graves do you think they were buried in? We can't afford to make these mistakes. It's pivotal. The Republicans are screaming from the top of their lungs what they want to do. There is no equivocacy. They have been calling for the removal of the FBI as an institution.
They have been since I was born. What's your point?
No, you are not paying attention if you think that. that. You're vaguely gesturing. You're waving. I vaguely remember them being that. No, you have no idea.
I don't vaguely remember
No,
it.
then you don't. Then you
completely and
remember
utterly
nothing.
remember it.
Then your mind on this subject is a void. This is incomparable. This is like you think the Patriot Act being passed compares in any way to the protracted multi-year-long campaign on every level of the GOP coordinated to delegitimize.
I mean, it's similar. It laid the foundations for it. The idea that they're somehow completely disconnected is ludicrous. The Patriot Act and things like it were the beginning of the abandonment of any semblance of interest in democracy from the GOP. Now, they've definitely heightened it and ramped it up significantly in recent years, but that was the beginnings of it. It laid the foundations, the groundwork on which they've built that nonsense. Progressive Victory is Vosh's pack. Oh, I didn't. He's got a pack, really? Okay. Progressive Victory, okay. About us. Progressive Victory is a new kind of political community built by the internet for the internet. Our community is turning the tide of elections across the country. Progressive Victory seeks to challenge the traditional methods of political organising and engaging people through online media with a focus on building solidarity with streamers and social influencers. And the directors are Sam. I don't see Vosh's name attached to that. Is Vosh not a person in this? Are they keeping their name out of it because of controversial statements, perhaps? I don't know.
The election. They did an
Not just the
insurrectionary
Patriot
attack.
Act.
Hopefully something good. If he's got a pack, hopefully, yeah, it gets progressive people elected. That'd be cool.
The creation of unitary executive theory and its application by both parties since George W. Bush is another thing. I mean, the fact that the president can declare war without congressional approval is a modern
just
construct.
again for clarity's sake here, okay? Right now we have a democracy where you can vote and the person you vote for can win. The world that he wants to build is one in which every single member of government that is either elected or appointed fundamentally cannot accept a victory from a Democrat. They were pushing to rewrite state laws on election counting that would allow them to throw out opponents' votes. Except they don't even need to do that.
A question. I understand gerrymandering.
You can't keep you're describing the difference between like stubbing your toe and getting bricked with a hammer as like, well, they both hit me. You have no idea what you're talking about. What you're engaging in right now is not enlightened leftist perspective. You're engaging in bottom of the barrel, South Park, Cartman-ass tier, zero IQ, centrist, moderate, hasn't learned a thing about politics in their entire life, bullshit equivocacy.
Yeah. I'm gonna let him cook on that one. Yeah.
How dare you? You claim to care about the legacy of your Union parents? You would literally preside over a death camp and go, well, you know, Biden probably would have done this too. Like, it's disgusting.
what?
It's senseless. If you genuinely believe that there is a comparison to be made, I beg you to educate yourself because there is none. It is not comparable.
I think that there's an obvious comparison to be made, and I've brought up the reasons why over and over tonight, and you seem to get more and more frustrated every time I do, but I don't hear an answer to it. You keep saying things are getting so much better. I'm saying while things got better on one hand, they got far worse on another. And you seem to want to divorce. You seem to want to divorce your tactic from that problem. When the truth, Vosh,
you don't need to divorce two things that were never married.
The truth is, I don't have a hazy memory when it comes to what it was like to live under George W. Bush or Barack Obama. I'm not fucking 12, bro. All right, I was a tax-paying 9-to-5 worker during both of those presidencies, so let's be real about this shit.
You're literally doing the bit too right now. You're like, well, I wore my blue jeans to work.
Well,
you don't know shit, dude.
Maybe I'll remember how.
Oh, we need more. We need more of dickheads shouting at each other. Oh, it's the funnest thing. This is my fast food. This is my intellectual fast food, okay? I like to read about economic theory, and I like to watch dickheads shouting at each other, okay? This is my fucking Big Mac. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I know that fucking
what
triggers
you
young
think
people.
is wise cynicism. Like, you think you're like, what, Rick Sanchez? You just don't know shit. You do not know.
Got
This is
it.
why you keep running back to the same, well, Biden's bad. I know! Great! Tune into my streams. Find out more reasons he's bad. You think you're brave or evocative for pointing out that things have gotten bad, that the
You need to
economy's
write a
gotten
book
worse?
like
Everyone knows this.
How Biden is the worst thing to ever exist, and why you should still vote for him. That would be
99%
that'd be a
Hitler,
hot
buddy.
take.
Me and T that was a famous scammer, so we don't know shit about work. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you can talk to them about that, but if you're gonna talk to me about my chops as a laborer, I've been employed since I was fucking 16 years old.
You know which party tends to aggressively push for lower minimum working laws at a state level?
The Republicans. No, I'm gonna joke.
Which party? Go ahead and tell me.
It's the Republicans. They tend to be
Is
the ones to
it?
push for that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, thankfully we got the Democrats to push back. Oops. Child labor's back.
Wait, I don't know why you're saying oops. The child labor stuff is largely happening under Republicans. When Dems are in charge of their state houses, that doesn't tend to happen. Like, wait, what? Yeah, there is a difference between the parties. I don't like you tend to assume there isn't on a state level. Never mind. Look, like it's like with I keep forgetting if it's Michigan or Wisconsin or Montana because my brain is small. But there was recently in the Midwest,
And all of those states can fuck off. To quote a British government minister, they're shithole.
a state that just barely managed to eke out a Democrat majority.
Oh, by the way, on that point, the James Cleverly calling Stockton a shithole thing, which we covered a little bit yesterday. Hang on, where's the fucking thing gone? Have I gone mad? Oh, there it is. Sorry. The excuse now being used. They said right that he didn't say it at first, and then when it was proven he did say it, he's now claiming that he said it's because you're a fucking shit MP to the person. So he's apologised for using unparliamentary language, but he's claiming now he didn't say shithole. But the thing is, the word hole and MP don't sound anything like each other. He's lying. He's just lying because that's what Tories do. They're lying cunts who lie about everything. Yeah.
And as a consequence, they've done fucking communism over there. Michigan. Sorry, chat's saying it's Michigan. And then now also chat's saying it's Minnesota. It's Minnesota, actually. They're doing like communism over there. They have like a one-person lead in the state house, and they've been doing a bunch of insanely good shit. Like I think that the difference between Democrats and Republicans tends to be more pronounced on the local level, because on a local level it's easier to win without being a big corporate stooge, whereas you need to be one if you're going to win presidency. There are too many connections to pull in through there. So I think that on a local level the difference is more pronounced, because like there are local Republicans that are saying insane shit with basically no pushback, and local Democrats that are doing really cool stuff. In this specific scenario right now, things are more heated than they have been in the past, but the underlying tendency remains the same. You vote for the best possible candidate. If you want to change things, you have to change the systems. Changing systems is hard and takes time. The best way to do that is to leech existing power and institutions and soapboxes. We do that through the Dems. We see good outcomes. We have seen good outcomes. The math is on my side. The science on my side. History on my side. On your side, a childish indignation and unwillingness to participate, and a flagrant disregard for the threat fascists pose to this country.
I've not
leftist of you.
advocated non-participation. So.
Very leftist of you.
Oh yeah, Cleverly should resign. 100% he should. Yeah, he's if you're the fucking Home Secretary and you're calling parts of the home that you're supposed to be the secretary for shitholes, after your government has been in control for 13 years, yeah, he should resign. He absolutely should. He's a fucking garbage bag. He's an absolute fucking toilet of a human.
And neither one of us is advocating for that. Here's that old crazy straw man again.
Yeah, you might want to wait till we're not on here before you straw man.
Yeah. This is definitely shit that I would reserve for the shit talk post show, where we're not here to like call you on it over and over.
Like that's not what we
and
said.
By the way, I would like to add to further the discussion. You're just a big old baby, Vosh, and I haven't.
You're a big old baby. You're a baby, Vosh. Baby.
I find it hard to explain to your monosyllabic child's mind the very idea of resisting your oppressors when the world is burning. I find it impossible to elucidate to your tiny little toddler of a mind what the broad scope and the based revolutionary nature of my position, Vosh.
You appreciate how I didn't talk over you, so you could really
how's
focus
that
on every
fucking
syllable?
feel, bitch? How do you like that? I'm not a child. There's no children present. Okay, thank you.
He took that child jibe very, very poorly. Because this has been edited together, so presumably this was like 2 hours later or some shit. And he's still... You called me a child, boy. I don't know why I'm doing that accent. That was unnecessary. Yeah, he's just... He's not happy. He's not happy.
Thank goodness.
Why
There's no fucking children present
Why
here.
would you call me monosyllabic but then make fun of me for using vocab words? Shouldn't you have said polysyllabic?
Monosyllabic is the word that I used, and it means that you only use one syllable because you dumb. That's what it means.
Is that what I'm known for? But then you said immediately. All right, whatever.
Yeah, I'm also
whatever
not known for
bit
being
you want to go for.
I'm also not known for being a fucking uninformed child, despite what some of the people in your fucking chat and community might fucking parrot.
Well, you should things down otherwise tonight. Look, I don't know. I just
Okay.
I don't want fascism to win. For this I am castigated. I am like Christ on the cross. They nail me to the cross because I believe that the fascists should not win the presidential election. In my corner, agreeing with me is everyone who does advocacy work for everything meaningful that gives us joy and light in our lives. And on your side, I guess there's, I don't know, habitual pot smokers. I feel like we've made the arguments. I feel like we've made our cases.
That's not a cool thing to say. Habitual pot smoke. Well, hang on. So what? Like people who smoke pot are stupid or bad? That's pretty fucking gross. Isn't one of the core tenets that would bet the legalization of that? That doesn't sit well. That doesn't sit well at all.
We can leave it to time, history, and, in my case, the unerring laws of mathematics to determine who is correct.
Got it. All right. Yeah, all right. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, you know what? One more thing before you leave, Vosh. One quick thing. It won't turn into a big thing. I just wanted to say from my heart, good day, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Pussy. Anyway, do you want to watch Norman Finkelstein fuck up Piers Morgan? I do. Come on.
We're here.
Thanks for joining.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
Is the
If you found bot.
is a major.
Yes, I'm going to do.
You're going to resign?
Yes, because I cannot continue my work. When I say I am God, I'm not joking.
Did you feel Elvis was
I genuinely feel like Zlatan Ibrahimovic probably does actually think he's God. He's that mental.
controlling?
I've been answering your question, you answer mine.
It's actually not my job to answer your questions. Are you prepared to call Hamas a terror group?
Is it possible to have a rational
You can't,
discussion
can you?
with
I've asked you two questions. Should Hamas stay in power and are they a terror group? You're refusing to answer either of them. That is very telling.
Talk TV. It's the only place where you get the truth.
You've done a book on poetry. Poetry and music for the many. I love poetry. We can agree on that.
What is a fascist? The leftists have bastardized the word so much that I don't what they mean when they say it. A fascist is when the government does stuff, and the more the government does stuff, the more fascist it is. And they put fascism in the vaccines that turn the fascist into transes. That's how that works. Or you could just look up the definition of fascism. Who cares that some people on the left have used the word in a way that you don't like? I don't care, mate. Look the word up. It has a meaning.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. My next guest is one of the most influential and to many controversial political scientists in the world. Most recently, he stirred controversy with his ferocious criticism of Israel's attacks on Gaza. Many of you have called for him to appear on this show with thousands of comments like this one. I wonder if Piers Morgan will be brave enough to have Norman Finkelstein on his show. Well, I'm pleased to say the answer is yes, because we believe in being uncensored here and hearing from all voices. And so I'm joined now by Professor Norman Finkelstein.
You're not doing it because you want to be uncensored or whatever. It's because it'll get ratings. You literally put on fucking Mohammed Hijab to talk to Rabbi Shmuley Butayak, right? Two very extreme people. Basically the human equivalent of bear baiting. The human equivalent of fucking dog fighting, you know? It's ridiculous. You don't give a fuck about free speech. You've shown that conclusively.
Professor, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate
Thank
it. Like I said, a lot of people wanted me
you.
to interview. You yourself tweeted that we hadn't done it, so here we are. I'm glad about it. I think you're an influential voice, and you've obviously been very vocal about this since it all kicked off.
Yeah.
I wanted to...
Dog wrestling is where they dress up in little spandex costumes and like and do theatre, you know, like a WWE but for dogs, which is a very different thing than the thing I was talking about.
Take you back, if I may, to October the 7th, because your first reaction to what happened on October the 7th incensed many people. You posted on Substack a piece about what had happened on the day, and it included this. For the past...
No, Destiny said he was going to be debating Finkelstein, and Destiny backed out. Destiny ditched on him.
20 years, the people of Gaza, half of whom are children, have been immured in a concentration camp. Today they breach the camp's walls. If we honour John Brown's armed resistance to slavery, if we honour the Jews who revolted in the Warsaw Ghetto, the moral consistency commands that we honour the heroic resistance in Gaza. I, for one, will never begrudge. On the contrary, it warms every fibre of my soul. The scenes of Gaza's smiling children as their arrogant Jewish supremacist oppressors have finally been humbled. And you ended by...
Good night, Miss Hire. Thanks for stopping by
saying the stars above in heaven are looking kindly down. Glory, glory, hallelujah. The souls of Gaza go marching on. With the benefit of a few weeks now, do you regret the tone of that initial response to what happened?
My initial response was to the initial news stories. You will recall, I'm sure, that initially what we were informed was that there was a breakout from Gaza concentration camp, that approximately 1,500 people had broken out, and that about 50 people, that was the initial number that was given, approximately 50 Israelis were killed. The number gradually grew, went from 50, a couple of days later it went...
So this is some dishonest shit from Piers Morgan, where he took someone's initial response as if this was their response to the full scale of the situation. Which, by the way, is a reason why you shouldn't respond without the full knowledge of the thing, which is what we were talking about yesterday. You should wait for all of the information to come out before really saying anything definitive or like bombastic.
To 100, and I'm sure you'll remember the number didn't reach 1,400 until about 10 days later. Initially, it was reasonable, excuse me.
Yeah, we are going to have to 1.25 it because he is, yeah.
It was reasonable to assume that people had been killed in a firefight, which was not the case, at least not fully the case. So my initial reaction was to the initial news story.
And by the way, at least some of those killings seem to have been from a helicopter attack by Israelis on the music festival it seems they got the information wrong and they thought this was the terrorist group. So, you know, that's just a thing worth bearing in mind. Still, the vast majority of them were killed by Hamas, but just worth bearing in mind.
By the third or fourth day, I was clearly compelled to rethink my initial statements and try to make sense of what was clearly a moral quandary. And at that point, I revised my, not revised, but I considered my judgment on the basis of the new information that was available.
Okay.
And my own sense, yes, go ahead.
I just want to, look, I've done a timeline for my own benefit based on what happened that day. We know the attacks began at 6:30 in the morning. We know that at 11:18 a.m., Israel confirmed, as you say, 40 dead, 700 injured. At 11:35, Benjamin Netanyahu said we are at war. At 12:30 that day, at lunchtime, I tweeted horrifying and appalling scenes from Israel. This murderous, indiscriminate Hamas terror attack on Israeli people is shameful and indefensible. By 4:17, Israel said 100 were dead at least, 985 wounded. Civilian hostages have been taken. At 4 o'clock, a little later than that, around the same time, footage is released of the attack reporting that 3,000 bombs and firearms have been fired off by Hamas. Civilians have been killed, and so on. And yet at 6:30, and then again at 9:16, you were retweeting your initial Substack, and you then added at 9:16 that you felt the hostage situation was crocodile tears. So I would take issue with your
yeah, crocodile tears is a bit much.
Statement that you thought it was only after 2 or 3 days that anyone had a clue about the scale of what had happened here. It was very obvious during that Saturday about the mounting scale of horror. And I just don't understand why someone as scholarly as you, as expert in this region, in this conflict as you are, why your response would be that for several days, one of glorifying in the in what you called heroic resistance, whereas mine, and I've always tried to be fair-minded about this conflict and reported it for CNN and tried to be fair and accurate as and when I've seen it, that I, at midday that day, I'm talking about a murderous, indiscriminate terror attack and horrifying and appalling scenes. I just don't believe that you weren't aware, with great respect, about the scale of what was going on.
Okay, Piers.
Yeah, for those who were wondering, Israel admitted killed its own at Nova Music Festival. An Israeli police investigation into the Hamas attack on the Nova Music Festival near the Gaza border on October the 7th revealed that an Israeli attack helicopter killed some of the attendees. Haaretz reported on November the 18th. But that's in Hebrew, so that's literally, I don't know what that fucking says. According to a police source, an investigation into the incident showed that an Israeli combat helicopter had arrived at the scene from the Ramat David base, fired at Hamas fighters and other Palestinians who crossed through the border fence from Gaza into Israel, but also fired on some of the Israelis attending the music festival. According to the police, 364 people were killed there, etc. And you can, yeah, it goes on. So yeah, Israel is at least seemingly in part to blame for some of those deaths, which again doesn't make the fucking Hamas thing any less terrible, because it's still fucking awful. They killed innocent people. Yeah, but just Israel again don't really give a fuck about Israeli civilians. You know.
Let me begin by saying I want to have a civil conversation, and I'm going to do my darndest to remain faithful to the facts and faithful to truth. I'll do my darndest not to exaggerate. The first thing I have to say is I don't tweet. I've never been on Twitter. I have 3 young tech people who I send statements to, and then they make the decision where to place it on Substack, on Twitter, and so forth. Okay, I just want to clear that up. I made one statement on the first day on the basis of the information that was available to me. The information was 50 people had been killed. Now, my memory is, but I won't claim my memory is infallible, the numbers didn't start to grow until the next day.
That's not true.
As the numbers, okay.
It's just not true.
Piers.
Well, Professor, with
okay,
respect,
I'm not going to.
It's not true.
Piers. Yeah, but you have to listen to what I say.
But you want me to believe you when you say you weren't aware of the scale of this?
No, what's this? That's right. Footage from Israeli helicopter shows IDF killing many people on October 7th in concert. No, this video doesn't show Israeli military killing blah 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 blah. Israel Defense Force posted a video on October the 9th on X that it said showed the Israeli Defense Force striking Hamas militants. A group that analysed video location said the video was not filmed at the site of the Tribe Music Festival. We found no evidence to support claims that the video clip showed. Okay, well that's about one video clip posted by the IDF. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't trust a fucking I wouldn't show a single I wouldn't trust a single thing that the IDF put out there. The fact that the IDF posted a fake video is of no surprise to me whatsoever. It doesn't show that, it doesn't prove just because they posted one fake video that anything else did or didn't happen. Yeah. If Haaretz are reporting from a police investigation in Israel about a thing, that seems to carry a lot more weight than the IDF posting a silly video. Again, doesn't confirm it necessarily, but it's I'd be more willing to take that as fact, I think, or more likely to have actually happened or have some basis in reality.
For several days, I find that just, I'm incredulous. You want me to believe that?
Okay, Piers, I'm not going to force you to believe it, and I'm not going to even try to impose my will. I'm simply saying, as a factual matter, speaking for myself, I was not aware that the numbers had been beyond 50 when I made...
That's fair enough, Lace. Enjoy your evening. Thanks for stopping by.
...that statement. I will further state that to my knowledge, I could be mistaken, that I did not make another statement until the numbers started to grow, and I admit I...
See, Piers Morgan, there's a fucking... There's like a structure. You can almost plan out a Piers Morgan interview. It starts with, do you condemn Hamas? Every single time. And then they spend ages going through whether you've condemned Hamas enough or not. And so they're just going to do, like... It just is a waste of airtime, I guess. Right? He literally... He could be discussing the actual thing that are happening and what could happen. What a peace solution might look like. That sort of thing. But instead it's just... you said a thing that didn't condemn Hamas enough.
I have said to you, it was a moral quandary for me. And I said in many interviews that it was for me a very burdened moment because I wasn't entirely confident in my moral judgment. And it was at that point that I started...
No, this is not RFK. This is a very different person with a very different opinion on Israel.
...to look back at what the white abolitionists had to say when...
Can I just say, also, the fucking nonsense of this? Critics have labelled Finkelstein poison and a self-hating Jew. So calling someone a self-hating Jew is not a critique, is it? That's just hate speech. That's just you being a racist prick. An offensive, nasty, racist prick. But according to Piers Morgan, that's just what a critic does. It is... fucking wankers. He's just priming his audience to hate this dude. You can just dismiss him because he's a self-hating Jew. You know, it's ridiculous. What is this? It's a link to a bus on fire and disturbances as Dublin escalates. Fireworks go off. Ooh, that's a bit rough, isn't it? What happened? Do we know what that's about? Unbelievable scenes. I don't recognise my city right now. Okay, well, I mean... Is it a road traffic accident? Is it a disturbance? What is this? A right-wing mob? Really? Where's the evidence for that? I need more data, people. I need more data. To quote the great Sherlock Holmes, I can't make bricks without clay. I need data.
Nat Turner carried out a slave rebellion, and many whites were hacked to death. Children were beheaded. And I wanted to see, because I was not confident of my moral judgment, I wanted to see what did the white abolitionists, those who fought against slavery, have to say? And I looked at what William Lloyd Garrison, probably the most famous of the white abolitionists.
William Lloyd Garrison. La la la. Violent protests in Dublin after woman and children injured in knife attack. Crowd chanting anti-immigrant slogans clash with police hours after stabbing incident outside of a school. Violent protests have flared in Dublin after a stabbing attack outside a school left 3 children injured. A crowd chanting anti-immigrant slogans set a police car on fire and attacked several officers on Thursday night after a man stabbed a woman and 3 children, leaving one in critical condition. Police detained a man in his 50s who is also being treated for injuries and said they were seeking no other suspects. So was this person a migrant and so the right wing are kicking up? Is that the story? Because if so, that's pretty worrying all around. Authorities did not identify the man, but anti-migrant groups said he was a foreigner and gathered near this. Imagine the Irish being anti-immigration. You're taking the piss. He was a foreigner and gathered near the scene of the attack at Parnell Square in the north of Ireland's capital. Sections of the crowd clashed with police, reportedly injuring several officers. Authorities suspended bus and tram services in parts of Dublin and called for calm. Well, that's
Ladies and gentlemen,
all very worrying.
victory is ours!
Thank you. Who is this person? Thank you. Oh my God. Pearls of Salamanca. No, Pear of Salamanca. Hello there. I presume that's the city in Spain you're referring to. Maybe not. I don't know. Dublin cars have been set on fire. Yeah, I'll have to get more information overnight as to the exact nature of this, but yeah. More racist bullshit, this time from Ireland. Brilliant. Thanks, lads. You're really fucking helping. Cunts.
And he said, horrible things happened during Nat Turner's rebellion, but if you read his statement, he wouldn't condemn Nat Turner or Nat Turner's...
All right, well, let me...
Do you condemn Nat Turner? Do you? Do you condemn him?
Okay, so let me ask you. Okay, listen, I've heard you say this before, that analogy. That's fine. But let me ask you, given you now know the scale of what happened, given you know 1,200 people were killed, including 800 or so completely innocent civilians, we know that children were killed, that grandmothers were...
I don't remember a pear with a mouth. No. I was thinking you were doing there's a city in Spain called Salamanca. Famous in my eyes, again, the Spanish Civil War reference. It's getting a big play tonight, Spanish Civil War. The priests of Salamanca giving the fascist salute is a famous image. Oh God, am I looking for that now? Salamanca fascist salute. Do we have... Is that the image that I'm looking for? No, we're after priests, specifically. Where are the priests? I can't find them. No. Beep, 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 beep. No, images, you fucking knob. Here we go. Jesus Christ. Where's this? There it is. There's the Bishop of Salamanca and various other people giving the fascist salute. Stop name shaming Nietzsche. I'm not name shaming. I'm interested. I was asking them. I thought, well, maybe they're a Spanish person or someone with a connection to Spain, and I can talk to them about that particular thing. But they're not. Apparently, it's a meme involving a pear with a mouth, which I don't get. I apologise. Also, fuck you, Rohack, you piece of shit. I promise you, Pair of Salamanca, I'm not always this aggressive. Sometimes I'm more aggressive.
Killed and their deaths FaceTime to their families. We know that over 200 people were kidnapped and taken hostage. Given you know the full scale of this attack, I've asked a lot of guests these two questions, and I'll be curious about your answer. One, would you categorise it as a terror attack? And secondly, would you condemn Hamas for what they did?
Do you condemn the Hamas?
My view is as follows. Number one, as far as the evidence shows now, atrocities occurred on October 7th. The magnitude of the atrocities and the types of atrocities, for example, were children beheaded, were women raped, that remains, so far as I can tell from the evidence, an open question. However, that there were atrocities that occurred, my answer is yes. Number two, that's a factual question. Then
Well,
there's
the question was
legal
it a terror attack?
Yeah, well, atrocities, it seems to me, denotes a terror attack.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
what atrocities
Okay,
are.
thank you.
Okay, so number two, that's the...
Thank you. Look, why does it matter? Honestly, look, does Norman Finkelstein saying it's a terrorist attack actually change anything? Really? Does it actually matter? Why don't you just talk about the fucking issue? You've been going for several minutes now, and you've discussed nothing of substance. You've discussed a tweet he sent out in the immediate aftermath of the initial reports. Why not talk about the fucking slaughter that's happening? Why not talk about a potential peace plan? Why not talk about the fucking the 4-day ceasefire that might or might not be starting or whatever? Like, there are actual substantive issues that could and should be talked about, and yet you're like, oh, do you condemn the Hamas? That video has sent me. It really has. I also have a fire alarm that says Allahu Akbar. It's true.
The factual question. And then there is the legal question. As a matter of law, it seems unquestionable that the people who perpetrated these atrocities would be prosecuted and convicted in the court of law. However, I would say on the legal question, I should think that there would be some mercy shown because those who carried out the atrocities were concentration camp inmates. Number three, which I think is the one that concerns you the most, is the moral question. And at a moral level, my view is, my basic precept, we may disagree, my basic precept is that there but for the grace of God go I. That is to say, I'm very reluctant to condemn people who are in a position or in a condition such that were I in that position or condition, I'm not sure what I would do. Now, the 1,500 young men who burst the gates of Gaza, they were born into a concentration camp. They lived for 2 decades in a concentration camp. They had no past, they had no present, they had no future, they had no jobs. Half of them, according to humanitarian organizations, suffered from what's called severe food insecurity. And then on top of that, as I'm sure you know, Pierce, because you keep up with the news, periodically Israel goes into Gaza and it mows the lawn. And you know what mows the lawn means. It means a high-tech massacre in Gaza. In 2008-9, Operation Cast Lead, 2012, Operation Pillar of Defense, 2014, Operation Protective Edge. And in each of these high-tech massacres visited on the people of Gaza, in some cases hundreds, in some cases thousands of
Oh, breaking news, breaking news. Sad breaking news in some respects. The leftist mafia is coming to an end. That's a shame. Dear leftist mafia viewers, after doing a show together for nearly a year, we've collectively decided that our last episode, streamed on November the 16th, will unfortunately be our final episode together. That is until November the 30th, which is when the show will resume. We've decided to cancel today's show so the American hosts can have dinner with their families and argue with their conservative relatives. This was a very difficult decision, and we hope you can understand from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you all, sincerely. The Leftist Mafia hosts. R.I.P. for 2 weeks.
Palestinians are killed.
Okay, let me ask you.
In fact, just in
well, let me ask you on that point.
In light of,
and
I
on
want
that
to finish
point,
your, I want to finish
one
your-
question
yeah.
about that. In that period, in that period, and by the way, I've been condemnatory of some of the things you've just talked about publicly. I've tweeted my condemnation of some of these things, and I've tried to shine a light.
He seems to think that condemnation means anything. He honestly does. He thinks that just saying the words "I condemn a thing" actually really substantively changes anything. I mean, but you also support Israel's right to quote-unquote defend itself, which just means bombing the shit out of Palestinians. So, I don't give a fuck, mate.
On the part of the Palestinians for many, many years. And I feel that the oppression of the Palestinian people for many decades has been absolutely outrageous. So on that, we can completely agree. But when it comes to what you're saying here, it seems to me what you're trying to paint is a picture of some kind of moral justification for what Hamas did. And that's where you lose me. Because
does he condemn phone hacking? Piers, do you condemn phone hacking? Do you? Do you condemn hacking the phones of dead children, Piers?
I don't see why there could be anyone who can see the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th and not simply condemn it out of hand. You may also want to condemn some of the response by Israel. That's completely normal. I would say that there are serious question marks about the proportionality of what they've been doing. But if you can't start from a basic humanity position of saying what happened on October the 7th was a disgusting terror attack worthy of condemnation, then for me, I find it very hard to then respect anyone's demand for people to condemn Israel and their response.
Piers, I'm trying to be candid with you.
But, hang on. Bollocks. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. Big fat hairy cocky bollocks. No, that's... What? Go away.
Anybody who got out of a
Fuck you, you fucking arsehole. I have no idea where we are in this.
Because you keep up with the news. Periodically, Israel goes into Gaza and do. Now, these would be prosecuted and convicted. You is as follows. Number one, as far as the evidence showing Nat Turner's rebellion.
This attack. I've asked a lot of guests these two questions, and I'll be curious about your answer.
That remains, so far as I can tell from the evidence, answer. Moral question. Top of
one question about that. In that period.
Yes.
Okay, whatever. We'll go from there. Right. Oh, Jesus Christ. What was the point I was going to even fucking make? Okay. Oh, that was it. Yeah. Sorry. So he genuinely seems to think that if you can't if you don't immediately condemn Hamas, then you can't ask anyone else to condemn Israel. Yes, you can, actually. Yes, you can. You might be a bit of a hypocrite, but that doesn't change the fact that the actions of Israel are condemnable. Even if someone is such a monstrous prick as to say that they don't condemn or they in some way support Hamas, doesn't change the fact that I, as a moral person, think, fuck that guy, I don't really give a fuck what they have to say, I'm going to condemn both Hamas and Israel for their obvious crimes. The fact that someone else doesn't condemn it makes no difference to my fucking moral stance. Why would that affect anything for me? Why would that change the way I approach a topic? Because someone else is a cunt. Didn't Norm say that Russia had a right to invade Ukraine? Did he? I don't know. If he did, that's a fucked up and dumb thing to say.
In that period, and by the way, I've been condemnatory of some of the things you've just talked about publicly. I've tweeted my condemnation. And that's where you lose me. Because I don't see why there could be anyone who can see the scale of what Hamas did on October the 7th and not simply condemn it out of hand. You may also want to condemn some of the response by Israel. That's completely normal. I would say that there are serious question marks about the proportionality of what they've been doing. But if you can't start from a basic humanity position of saying...
Okay, then why when you have Israeli warhawk fuckheads on who have talked openly about genociding Palestinian people, do you not bring up those supposed concerns about the proportionality of Israel's response? You give them pretty easy rides, especially compared to anyone who's vaguely anti-IDF or anti-Zionist. Piers, you reveal your arse every day on this show. In a metaphorical sense. He'd actually be hilarious if he got his actual arse out. I'd respect that. And it would be more newsworthy. It would be... Honestly, Piers Morgan getting his anus out on stream would be of more debate worthiness than the things he says.
What happened on October the 7th was...
Do you condemn anus?
A disgusting terror attack worthy of condemnation, then for me, I find it very hard to then respect anyone's demand for people to condemn Israel and their response.
Piers, I'm trying to be candid with you. Number one, I appreciate your humanity. I do. I don't know you from Adam. I'm not a TV or a television.
I don't even fucking know you, bro. You're nothing to me. You're a peon, and I am a god.
Or social media kind of person. I'm a book person. I'm old-fashioned. However, I do recall that when that famous moment when Susan Boyle appeared on Britain's Got Talent, and I remember the camera turning to you, focusing on you. I could see it in my mind's eye. I saw your eyes narrow, and suddenly the humanity in you came up. Here is this obscure woman whose talent had gone unrecognized. And if I can speak to that same...
Hang on, Norm, you can't say, I don't know you from Adam, and then say, oh, but here's an obscure piece of video of you from 15 years ago that I remember distinctly and very clearly. You clearly do know this person to some extent then. Like, come on, man. That's, that's fucking ludicrous. God almighty, what a knob.
Program. For me, the most poignant moment, the one I carry with me since that moment, was when Simon Cowell asked Susan Boyle, well, why haven't you been discovered yet? And she replied, because I haven't been given a chance. And that's how I feel about the people of Gaza. That's how I feel about those young men in Gaza. You ask me why I won't condemn them. Because those young men were born into a concentration camp. They were born into among the most dense populated places on God's earth. Half of the population of Gaza is children. 70% are refugees who were expelled from Israel in 1948 and their descendants. 70% of Gaza's youth have no jobs, no future, no nothing. They are Susan Boyle times 10,000, never given a chance. And as things looked the night before October 7th, when the question of Gaza was disappearing from the public stage, I will admit to you, Piers, I myself have given up on Gaza. In 2020, I decided it's hopeless, it's pointless, I only have a finite number of years left in my life, and it's time for me to move on. And I'll tell you...
We can't mention Susan Boyle on the show without mentioning the best ever hashtag on Twitter, which was meant to be Susan Album Party. Right? Susan and Album Party, which became Susan Anal Bum Party. Susan Anal Bum Party. Fair enough. It's a beautiful thing. Le tits now.
That was a wrenching decision on my part, because I knew I was abandoning the people who for 15 years I had devoted my life to chronicling every detail of the horror that had been inflicted on those people. And I gave up on them.
Okay.
And that meant if I gave up, they had no future, because I was the last chronicler.
Okay, but what I would say...
Gaza.
All right, but what
I have the only book
but Professor,
that's been written on the subject.
Let me respond. I would respond by saying that what people in Israel would say, and what Jewish people would say, particularly who live in Israel, is that they were facing a constant barrage of rockets from Hamas, that Hamas won political power in 2005-6, that they were given a huge amount of money.
I don't really know Norman Finkelstein that much, but he just seemed like a bit of a kind of, not tanky, but like a kind of America bad guy. Which, don't get me wrong, America is bad, but if that's your only position, that seems kind of dumb, you know? But I don't know him that well. I know he can be pretty based. I think he's been pretty good so far on this. I think the not condemning Hamas thing is just silly, but whatever.
and could have done whatever they wanted with that money, but chose to pursue a path of effectively terrorizing the Israelis over that period. And the Israelis, you're right, they responded they have a far superior military, and they responded in the way that they did, and this cycle has been going on in repeat and repeat and repeat. But where you and I differ about this is that I think what happened on October the 7th was just on a different scale to anything we've seen and the way it was carried out. And I just don't think saying that people who have been oppressed, which they undoubtedly were for many years, that justifies them committing that act of terror. But let's take a break. Let's come back after the break and discuss this more.
Yeah, oh my god. You thought ISIS were bad? What about turbo-anal ISIS? Think about it, people.
We've just been discussing. Given that you wrote that Substack, and you want me to believe, and okay, I'll take your word for it, that you were completely oblivious to the reality of what had happened here and the scale of it. But given you're not now oblivious to that, why have you not removed that Substack, given the language is so clearly offensive to people, and you based it, by your own words, on a false premise about what had happened?
You know, Piers, that's a very good question. And this morning, when I was talking to some friends from the UK, I was warned you would ask that question. I'll honestly tell you, I never fear the truth. I don't. I feel the truth is a very powerful weapon on the side of the oppressed. I never fear it. Now, I'm going to give you the answer.
True. What about turbo, anal, ISIS, Hamas, Hitler, Boko Haram, KKK, Baader Meinhof? What about them? Did you ever think about that?
Again, you can or can't disagree with me. Or believe me. I was tempted to remove it. I was tempted to, quote unquote, protect myself. I didn't remove it because I thought that's intellectually dishonest. I wrote that statement. It's part of the historical record. It's part of the documentary record. And I shouldn't do what Stalin used to do. So when he published photographs of the Bolshevik Revolution, he would take Trotsky's picture out.
Okay, but
and that's the image.
So you won't delete
so
it.
That's the image that stuck to me.
All right, you haven't deleted it, but do you regret it?
Do I regret what?
Do you regret the contents of that Substack, given that you now know?
Do you condemn yourself? He's moved on from do you condemn Hamas to do you condemn yourself from 4 weeks ago? Oh, fuck me.
What really happened?
Yes, if it can be misconstrued to mean that I wrote that with full knowledge of what happened, of course I regret it.
Okay.
However, it remains part of the record. And as a serious scholar, I'm not a great scholar. I'm not in the ranks of the great British historians, but I take scholarship.
Like me. I am. Just saying.
Seriously, I did not want to denature, to falsify, to misrepresent the documentary record.
But let me ask you. Let me ask you.
And I will leave it there.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, that's your decision. You are the son of two people who survived the Holocaust, who were both in concentration camps. You're a Jewish man. And you know
that must be wild, by the way. Imagine that you were the son of two Holocaust survivors. How that must fuck with the head. Because I've talked about this before in the past with about African Americans, right? I don't know how African Americans don't just go fucking mental when they think about the fact that they literally only lived there because their ancestors were stolen from Africa and forcibly taken to that place. That's why they're there and why they're from there. That process in your head, I don't know how you don't just despise everything about the place you're in. I don't know how you don't go fucking crazy. Imagine that. Imagine being the son of two Holocaust survivors. I don't know how you haven't gone postal on Germany, frankly. Like, I don't know how that works. It's fucked up, man. It's mad shit. Because there's no undoing that. Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I have enormous respect for people who undergo that and seem to have like a positive outlook on the situation. That's fine. and or at least don't let it define them. They don't let it destroy them from within. I'm just saying, like, the Irish, by comparison, were treated with kid gloves compared to the Jews of 20th century Europe, or indeed the Africans of the many centuries of the slave trade. And I feel genuinely aggrieved and angered at the way in which my ancestors were treated in Ireland. So I just imagine if I times that by however much more the other people were oppressed, how that would feel. And obviously it doesn't work that way, because if it did, all of Black America would have gone fucking ballistic by now. And they haven't. And that's enormously to their credit, I feel.
Century, that Substack has proven to be with Jewish people around the world, who many of whom have felt this is the nearest thing to the Holocaust of World War II that they've endured. What your parents went through, being revisited on them in these kibbutzes on October the 7th.
It's kibbutzim, you fool.
What do you feel about them? I mean, how would your parents have felt about you literally on the day that this happened, talking about heroic resistance, talking about that you will never begrudge the scenes, that the stars in heaven are looking kindly down, glory, glory, the souls of Gaza go marching on. How would your parents have felt about that, coming out of concentration camps, surviving the Holocaust of World War II?
Well, first of all, anything I write, I have my parents looking at the screen behind me over my shoulders, in a metaphorical sense. I am very conscious. Every moment of my existence goes back to the martyrdom of my family. So it's not as if suddenly you're posing a question to me that never occurred to me. Quite the contrary, I do need, even 30 years after their death, I need the moral validation that came from my parents' martyrdom and the extermination of their family. How would my parents have reacted? My guess is if on the first day they heard that inmates in a concentration camp burst its gates, I think my parents would be very pleased at that fact. As the events became clearer, my guess, but this is pure speculation, my guess is my parents would go out with their hearts.
So is that okay? So he's moved on from "Do you condemn yourself from the past" to now saying, "Do you think your parents, your dead parents, would condemn you now?" Have they actually talked? Has Piers Morgan asked him a question about the actual situation in Israel yet? It's just condemn. Do you condemn this? Do you condemn that? Do you condemn bananas? Do you condemn people putting weird bits of fruit on pizza? Do you condemn cardboard getting soggy?
Would go out to those who burst the gates of the concentration camp and whose lives were destroyed. Now, you will say to me, completely legitimately, you would say, well, what would your parents feel about the innocents who were slaughtered in the atrocities on that date? So I'm going to give you as close an answer as I could give, as I'm able to. I once asked my late mother, I said to her, what was your feeling when you heard that the German cities were being terror bombed during World War II? The carpet bombing of the German cities targeting civilians. What was your feeling? And my mother's response to me was, quote, our feeling was, if we're going to die, we're going to take some of them with us. Now, that's not the most morally elevated statement. I agree. And do I wish my mother had and my father had a heightened sensitivity to German civilian life? I suppose I would wish it. But I will tell you, Piers, to the last day of my parents' life, it was unthinkable that they would have a kind word to say about Germans. And it was unthinkable that I would ever quarrel with them on that point.
Okay.
I accepted that given their life experience, they had the right to hate the people who destroyed their lives.
Okay.
And the people
Professor
of
Finkelstein.
Gaza have the right to hate the people who destroyed their lives.
Professor Finkelstein, Thank you for that answer. And I don't mean to cut you off. We've got another guest waiting to respond to what we've been discussing. I'd like to get you back on. I feel like we've had a good conversation. I don't agree with
You haven't had a conversation. You haven't had a conversation. You've done nothing. You haven't discussed the issues at all. You asked him on, and then when... do you condemn this? Do you condemn that? Do you condemn this other thing? You've done nothing of value in this conversation, Piers Morgan. You are a gobshite. You've... fuck it, I'm done. I'm going to bed. Actually, no, it's too early to go to bed. But I am... Yeah, that was pointless. Piers Morgan, you are a pointless human being. Fuck off. Just fuck off with your weird outrage baiting fucking Zionist fucking porn. That's all you're doing. Zionist pornography. It's fucking... It's just... Ugh. It is. It's the human equivalent of just poking someone with a fucking stick.
Get some help.
He should. He should do that. Thank you, Marcel, who says, for resubscribing, who says, apparently there are forklift truck driving competitions in Germany. Are there?
Oh, der Pokal, bleibt stabil, bleibt stabil.
That's like a real fucking crowd there. What? We were going, and then now I've been informed about this nonsense, and this needs analysis.
Oh, der Pokal, bleibt stabil, bleibt stabil. Noch wackelt Benjamin Danker.
Ist das soft? Ist das gut? Ist das cool?
Is that soft? Is that cool? This is Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen. Oh god, this is dumb. This is so dumb. I adore it. I adore it with every fibre of my being.
Ist das präzise?
Und jetzt geht's gegen die Uhr.
Die Zinken sind raus.
4 Minuten sind rum. Jetzt schnell parken und nach oben laufen auf dem Weg ins Finale. Der Titel...
It's a beautiful language. Beautiful.
Verteidiger schafft es hier nach oben. Unter 4,25 mit der Frankenstolz Arena im Rücken. Benjamin Danker geht ins Finale.
So this is Ninja Warrior, but with forklifts.
Finale!
Wahnsinn! Die erste Frage ist, wie ist die Zeit? Und wir können sagen, die Zeit ist Finale!
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Alleine das.
Oh, it's got a tiny little truck. So there's it's a forklift with a tiny little forklift on it, picking up a tiny thing. Oh, that's genius. Oh my god. Yeah, this is Western culture. This is the height of Western culture. Okay? Fuck yes. Oh, yes. That's amazing.
Ja. Jawohl!
Jawohl.
Rechte Parcours. Alexander Busch links, Leonhard Wagner rechts. Aktuell bei uns am Feld im Parcours links der Martin und rechts der Oliver.
Honestly, I need to show Christy this. This needs because Christy needs to know, now that she's a German, she needs to know about her people's culture. Okay? She needs to know. This is genius. And I'm genuinely fascinated. I'm engrossed. Yeah, yeah. The Germans and their obsession. Colin McCrate. Yeah, that works. Staxian Vettel. It kind of works. I get what you mean. Michael Shoestacker? Michael Shoestacker, anyone? Come on now. Okay, I'm going. Okay, I'm going. Leave me alone. Thank you, Marcel. With you have. I will now view my life in two parts. The time before I knew about competitive forklift nonsense, and my time after. You have immeasurably improved the quality, and I think probably longevity of my life. Nicky Loader absolutely works. Genius. Kevin Stacksness. Okay. Stop it. Stop it now. You people are mental. I love you. I'll be back tomorrow with Christy. We'll be doing a regular Friday happy hour thing. It'll be fun. Probably at 6, although I don't know. Because Christy's got stuff to do. So probably 6 though, I imagine. Which is 1 PM on the east coast of Americana land. Yeah. Who is going on Twitch? Who is going? No Justice motherfucking MT motherfucking G is going. So I know where we're going. Go and say hello to Helena. She's fucking badass. Which is like badass, but even better. Okay? And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for being with me on this day of Thanksgiving for some people and day of shitsgiving for others, I guess. Yeah, stay beautiful. No passing around.